guy with a knife in his hand fights off a monster. He explains that the profession of a mentor is not connected with wars, and he decided to live a quiet life. The guy then jumps on the big monster with a club, preparing to attack, and the caption says that this happens until that day. Ryu is surprised when Lyra apologizes and says they can't take him on the trip. As the guy in the trench coat walks away, the girl with long hair asks what's going on while someone yells at them to stop. Ryu woke up in bed and wondered if it was a dream as he heard the mooing of cows on the farm outside his window. He then turns to the cow and laughs, stroking her face. Ryu thanks the girl for the animal's recovery. The girl replies that it is good, until the maid approaches them with the kitten. Following this, he admitted that he did not want to be a mentor, and Lear noted that he was also capable of healing animals. The boy reports that 2 of his friends have received awards, and the old man advises him to be friends with animals. Meanwhile, the guy says that the young hero can become a hero, while the other one studied magic in a church where being a wizard is considered an asset. The narrator explains that the 2 went on a journey when they grew up, against the backdrop of a group of people and houses. And then the guy with the pitchfork tells the maid that he is nothing compared to them, and he grips the steering wheel with tension. Lear gets Ryu's attention by telling him that his friends will be returning to town soon, and he apologizes and asks what they were talking about. At the same time, he decided to take a break. After his dream, everything changed, and now he was all alone, although before they were always together. Ryu played a lot and took care of dogs and cats, becoming friends with them through his profession. He also ponders the impossibility of taming the Fenrir, dreaming of following them, when he suddenly hears a loud roar in the forest. The guy claims that there shouldn't be anyone here, but he peers into the bushes and asks if there is anyone. In addition, there is an animal that looks like a wolf on the path in the forest. The boy looks at the wolf and calls him black and beautiful. Eventually, Ryu notices that the wolf is caught in a trap and promises to help him free himself. A guy tries to calm down an aggressive wolf that bit him on the arm and asks it to stop, after which the guy took off his weapon. The wolf asked him to wait, reminding him about the potions. Ryu assures the beast that everything will be okay and allows him to escape. When he said it was time to get back to work, he started walking into the forest. Ryu looks away. A guy with short black hair is watching him. He then lies on his bed and wonders if the wolf will be able to return to the pack, looking at the moon outside the window. Ryu is surprised that the wolf understands human speech and agrees to answer the question. Following this, he warns of the consequences, and the dog notes his honesty. The wolf asks the man why he helped him and asks him to answer in such a situation. Meanwhile, Ryu hesitates, realizing that he must sincerely express his desire to help, while Lear is irritated by the possibility of lying, which could lead to serious consequences. He admitted that she was beautiful, and he explained that he wanted her to live a long life and not just die. And then the guy was surprised by what he heard. She said that he decided to help her out and added that he was very interesting. Ryu doubts the need for help, and the wolf admits that he likes her and asks her name. At the same time, he introduced himself and assured that there was no need to be afraid of him, and the dog was surprised by the unusual name. The character with the wolf's face declared that the interlocutor belongs to him and objections are not accepted. Ryu is also surprised when the wolf calls him pet and suddenly increases in size 8 times. He tries to catch up with Lear, asking for the bag, but he says that they are there, causing him confusion and fear. In addition, a bright light suddenly flashed in the forest. Ryu sees a pack of wolves on a cliff under the moon, realizing that they are watching him. Eventually, he notices a pack of fengers approaching him and the wolf. The character notices a pack of wolves, about 30 individuals, the largest leader in the middle, after which the guy asks if they will kill him. The wolf asks who the man is and why he was brought into the house, and the girl replies that this is her daughter. When the boy is surprised that the wolf knows his daughter, the wolf demands an explanation and says that is not the reason. The boy says that he works on the ranch and asks if it is his turn. He demands to know where he is from, and the guy replies that he saved a girl who was trapped. The black-haired guy then explains that they can easily destroy any trap, and the other one is surprised that she already did that and was just playing. Ryu asks if the man has a profession as a mentor. The wolf says he can help his grandfather. Following this, he explains that his grandfather's health has deteriorated due to a lack of magical power, and considers himself partly to blame, and the wolf says that his grandfather lived a long life and it is unlikely that anyone will be able to help. Two wolves discuss the death of someone close to them. One advises not to scold their child too much, and the other asks if they brought him because he can help. Meanwhile, Ryu insists on meeting, claiming that this is a chance, and the wolf demands that he remain silent. The guy says that he is powerless in the problems of age, but is ready to help in others. And then the wolf at first refuses to let them in, but then allows them to pass, considering the attempts a waste of time. The wolf asks why the man is here, and the girl greets the elder. At the same time, the guy introduced himself as a mentor brought by his granddaughter and declared his intention to help cure the wolf's illness. Ryu doubts the mentor's help, but he assures that it is possible to help, but not without effort. Moreover, the guy asks the wolves to wait. They accuse him of deception and want to kill him, but he assures that he can help. Ryu assured that he would finish quickly, to which his interlocutor replied that he was counting on him. The wolf also asked why he wanted to become stronger and stated that he was the same as his granddaughter. Ryu explains that she turned to the human because she herself is unable to cure them, and admits that they relied on her. In the end, the guy with short hair said that he no longer wanted to disappoint his loved ones while the other two walked away. The wolf nodded, and the other was surprised to see a clenched fist nearby, after which Ryu agrees to accept the conditions and asks what he must do. He is told that everything is simple, and the two wolves call the elder. A guy with black hair offers to bite himself and drink his blood. When Ryu doubts the power of a commoner's blood, the wolf calls it complete nonsense, to which the other wolf exclaims, "Father!" He stops the huge beast by making direct contact and not retreating from its roar. Then Ryu felt pain on his arm from the wolf's bite. The wolf asked in surprise what it was. He explains to the talking beast that the hero has his own reasons for his great magical power. Ryu then explains that he has too much magical power in his body, and if it is not released, he may explode. He says his powers increase with age because he was born with them. Meanwhile, the boy tells the wolf that he is a real treasure and notes that he is already feeling better. The beast replies that he is overflowing with strength. The guy says he is happy as long as two wolves rub against him. Then Ryu asks permission to make a deal, and the wolf replies that he needs to train with their pack first, to which the other wolf indignantly objects that a human cannot be part of a pack. He thanks him, and the wolves discuss his weakness, impoliteness, and danger. At the same time, the character with a menacing expression suggested killing, but the other sharply ordered silence. The boy notices the pressure from the wolves, who growl and protect their savior. In addition, Ryu asks the wolf about his ancestor, and he explains that in order to gain strength, one must learn to control magical energy. The wolf says that in the forest you need to change your essence in order to become stronger and master your power. Ryu also reflects on the need to kill the human within himself to avoid dying, and hopes to be with his friends again. He handed something to the wolf, expressing hope, and kept his promise by clenching his fist. Ryu ends up being surprised by the Fong that the real Fenrir elder calls his own. He realized that the wolf would help control the magical power and decided to look after him. After which Ryu declares that he is ready to become someone for this. He trains with the monster, has been doing so for about a month, despite its furious attack. When Ryu notices that the orc's attacks are slow, he easily dodges while one of the orcs fights on, feeling great. He explained that first he hits the arm, then the legs, and when the opponent loses his balance, he hits the head. Then the guy said he was done and asked how his interlocutor was doing. Lyr sits on a pile of fallen creatures and sighs heavily, watching the result of the battle. Following this, the guy admitted that he had been dealing with the orc for too long, and someone noted that the Fenrir were amazing. Ryu is confident that he can handle the monster despite its weakness. Wolf notices that the boy has become stronger while they are resting in the forest. Meanwhile, the guy admitted that even after a month of training, He had difficulty dealing with the enemy, and a voice from the bushes reminded him that on the first day he only ran away. The guy said that to train his endurance, he ran away from a pack of Fenris and learned to survive in the forest while the wolf watched him. And then Ryu decided to adapt to everything and started growing berries, despite his doubts. He thanks the elder for the fong. Now he can use it as a knife. Meanwhile, Ryu and his dog discuss their lack of a name, and the animal praises his grandfather, calling him incredible. Liar says that monsters require a lot of magic, and their names are part of the soul. In addition, Ryu listens attentively to the story of how the elder ran out of mana when he tried to give it to the girl. He consoles the wolf, saying that the elder will definitely give him a name and asks him not to be sad, since he cannot look at his face. Also, the boy asked what happened, and the wolf replied that he came to deliver a message from the chief. Then another wolf loudly called the lady. Ryu notices that the pack is treating him coldly, and the wolf warns him not to keep the elder waiting for news about his training. Finally, Lear asked if he was called the elder, and he replied that he was fast. Ryu said that they needed to hurry, and the wolf noted that many considered training useless and advised not to pay attention to the discontent. After which he realized that he had to defeat the demonic rooster alone. The boy talks about a demonic rooster that is causing trouble for a group of adventurers. The wolf claims that Ryu must face the test on his own, refusing help. When the boy asks about the strength of the fangs, the interlocutor notes that he has not yet fully realized the strength of Fenrir's fangs. The hero claims that the fangs are capable of destroying everything in their path, including magic, and that the interlocutor has a fong of the Fenrir elder, which can help if he wants. Then the boy explained to the wolf that the demonic rooster was not dangerous, but he only remained perplexedly silent, admitting his lack of understanding. The voice said that the test would begin at sunset, and until then one needed to have a good rest. Following this, a large claw is seen against the background of the mountain, cutting into the ground. Ryu and the wolf hide in the bushes, watching a strange creature making a pee-pee sound. Meanwhile, a huge bird landed with force, destroying the ground, and above, a stone statue and an animal making a pee sound were seen. Ryu analyzes the situation. The enemy has a poisonous tail and the ability to turn into stone with a glance, but a narrow field of vision and no flight. And then he leaves, and the dog warns him to be careful. Ryu decides to deal with the snake on its tail, believing it unwise to attack head-on, and charges forward despite the snake's warning to go slowly. At the same time, he is about to attack his paws, but suddenly gets hit and exclaims in pain. The guy notices that he is not seen and prepares for action. Also, Ryu attacks by shouting, "Take that!" and he responds with, "Huh!" A guy looks at a bird flying against the background of the sun. The boy is also surprised that the bird is flying. He thinks about waiting for it to land, even though he thought he was holding it in his palm. Ryu falls after being hit by the wind. He warns him of his danger and asks about magic. The beast is surprised that he survived. Eventually he notices that the bird is not going to come down and ponders about long-range magic, wondering what to do next. Ryu contemplates the power of the Fenrir Elder's fangs and decides to use them, knowing that otherwise he will simply die. After which the character with short black hair uses magic with concentration, and the wolf notices in surprise that his mana has increased. Ryu concentrating his magical power on his fong and commanded it to be released, preparing to attack the flying enemy. As a dark bird flies with outstretched wings against the backdrop of a full moon, a close-up shows the frightened look and claws of another bird. Ryu watches the battle between two giant birds. He then reports that he has successfully passed the test and receives approval from the dog. Lear asks if Ryu is okay, who is lying on the ground and says that he has no strength left at all. After this, the character apologized and said that he would rest for a while. The dog replied that there was nothing to be done and was surprised that he would stay there. Ryu said that he could now rest a little. Meanwhile, he lies on the ground, hearing someone promising to talk to the elder later. The character asks who he is, stating that he is unique. And then Ryu sighed, closing his eyes. Lear ordered him to rest, and in response the wolf praised him for his actions. At the same time, a pack of animals invited Ryu to play and go hunting, asking if he was hungry. He asks to wait, and the stranger remarks that he is now very popular. Also, Ryu complains that the wolves won't leave his side, and he replies that it's a sign of respect, but notes that one of them clearly doesn't like him. One wolf reproaches another for being a bad example for children, calling him a blockhead and punishing him. In addition, the guy noticed that the mother wolf is merciless and occupies a high position in the pack. Two characters look at a family tree with images of ancestors in the form of cat heads. Finally, Ryu looks forward, with the paw of a large beast next to him. An atmosphere of tension and anticipation is created. He notices that the clothes are worn out. He suggests buying new ones. He replies that he can't, so suggests using monster fur. After which Ryu explains that they will have to go to the city for money, and Lear suggests asking Grandpa first. In response, a loud cry of "No!" is heard. He believes that revealing the den will put the pack at risk, and the wolves insist on silence and keeping the elder. When the boy discusses the lack of a way out with the wolves, he offers to send someone from the pack with him, claiming that it will be safer. The boy is surprised when the wolf asks if he really doesn't trust a person that much, and offers to introduce him to a gnome, calling him Grandma. The characters then discuss the skill and strength of the dwarves, as well as the possibility of sewing clothes given the right materials. Ryu thanks the wolf for his help. He promises that his friend, a dwarf from the kingdom, will help the boy. Following this, the wolves discuss sending the daughter of one of their own as an observer, expressing doubts due to the large number of people on the way. Ryu agrees to let her granddaughter go, while the wolves argue and one of them forbids communication. Meanwhile, Lear promises to teach the guy magic and talks about making money on materials from monsters. The guy asks in surprise if this is true. Ryu wonders thoughtfully what awaits them, and then admits that he is very happy now. And then he tells that thanks to the elder, he learned about the materials and magic of the vault, and then confirms that he did not forget anything before going to the country of the gnomes. The guy asked about his companion. The creature replied that she would surprise him soon, thanking him for waiting. At the same time, Lear stands next to a large creature, and the guy thinks about her with admiration, calling her a beauty. Ryu heard a voice and she asked him what he thought. He also recognized Lyre, who was happy about her success and said that she had been training for a long time. He remembered the girl after the battle with the demonic rooster. She told Ryu that she couldn't maintain this appearance before, but thanks to her mother and grandmother's advice, she managed because she wanted to travel with him. In addition, the fox asks to give a name to his granddaughter, and he is surprised by such a request. Ryu asks if he wants to make a contract. Lear replies that it will be within his power. Eventually, the boy turns to the large wolf-like creature, says that his granddaughter wants this too, and asks him to explain that she is indebted to him and can trust him. Ryu listens to Lear, who nods and says that her granddaughter also agrees. After which she agrees to begin and confirms the contract with the man and the wolf, who thanks them. Ryu decides to offer a contract. Lear agrees. When she thanks him, saying that she likes it, he suggests that they move on, and he confirms that everything went well. Lear announces that they are going. The guy asks what will happen to him while there are animals standing around. Then she fell asleep on Ryu's shoulder. He smiled, and she cheerfully pointed the way forward. They walk together along the road to the mountains. He explains to Lyre that they will soon arrive in the land of the dwarves, where there are many skilled craftsmen ready to offer excellent armor and weapons. Following this, one asks the other what is the matter, and he replies that Lear is imagining something. Lear flirts with Ryu, explaining that she couldn't behave like that in the forest, but he's wanted to communicate with her like that for a long time, and he thinks she's spoiled. Meanwhile, they approached the wall of the fortress, and he reported that they were there. Ryu asks Lyre to take on the form of a wolf, explaining that he does not have a map, and suggests that they go quickly, showing her the map. And then he explains that you need to show a card when entering, but in the form of a wolf, a card is not needed, and the guard agrees with this. Ryu asked if this was a line to enter the city, to which he received confirmation from his interlocutor. At the same time, A guy with short black hair explains that he wants to sell materials for monsters and buy clothes, and another one kindly says that the city is perfect for this. Ryu introduced himself as a merchant and explained his intentions, and the guard asked about the purpose of his arrival and registration in the Merchant Guild. In addition, the guy refused to sell the materials to the Adventurers Guild, and the man in armor asked to show documents for verification. The boy agreed to go through, and the knight asked him to wait here. The boy nodded and stayed where he was. In addition, the guy introduced himself as a guild employee and offered to talk. He thanked for waiting and was surprised. A guy with black hair asked a man in a room with a fireplace. A dog was sitting next to him, and a security guard was standing behind the man. Eventually, the guy at the table asked if he could buy these skins from him. The guy is surprised by the offer to buy rare materials of excellent quality. The seller explains that such materials are rarely found in the markets. Ryu then asked who this master was and was told that his name was Dovar Crown. He asks if this is a criminal. The old man replies that he does not know him personally, but that a friend recommended him, and asks if he is really so famous. When the boy explained that Dovar Crown was the king of this country, the other one responded with surprise, "Okay." The boy was surprised that the master turned out to be a king. Then he remembered that they could now communicate telepathically, and wondered what to do next. The guy then offers to sell the materials, expecting a problematic meeting with the king, and the girl from behind asks where the guild is. Mac arrived, and the other admitted to being worried about his absence, blaming the delay on checking materials. After that, the guy asked where to find the guild. The other one responded with interest that he was also looking for materials and suggested going together. Ryu heard that they were almost there and replied, "Close." Meanwhile, the guy explained that in guilds it is necessary to regularly report on completed tasks, so they decided to build it near the entrance. The man points to the stand, and Ryu listens attentively to him in the crowd. And then the guy explains to the girl that everything here is divided into 3 types, and points out that she should go to the trade department if she sells materials. Ryu decided to sell materials from weak monsters, leaving the best for the king. The girl at the counter asked him to put the materials up for sale, to which he agreed. At the same time, he asked something from a girl standing with her back to him, and around them are several people and a large furry creature. Ryu asked where they got the boar skins from, and the maid left the room, asking him to wait. He also explains that boar skins are rare, high-quality materials, and one of the interlocutors is surprised to learn that the giant boar is an A-rank monster. Ryu apologized for the wait, explaining that he lived in the forest and did not know this. The girl began to talk about skins. In addition, the black-haired boy learned that the guild was willing to offer 62 gold coins. The guy claims that there is enough money, and the girl thanks him and gives him the money. Ryu ends up embarrassed when his friends admire his money and strength, with one of them saying that all the monsters he defeated were very strong. The guy with short black hair reported that the money had been received and they could go to the king, hoping that there would be no more problems. After which the fortress with high towers and massive walls is visible from the outside through the main entrance. The character runs up the stairs and reports problems to His Majesty. When the guy on his knees apologizes and says he has very important news, the other one asks what's wrong. The knight reported that a peasant with monster skins had appeared in the city and wanted to meet with them. The character on the throne then asks what to do next. The king ordered someone to be brought to him, confirming his consent. Following this, Lear jumps onto the bed. The guy smiles, and the girl apologizes and says that she did all the washing. The guy thanked the woman for fixing his shirt. She replied that she had sewn up all the holes. Meanwhile, Ryu explains to the woman that he trained in the forest with the Fenrir, and then agrees to go to the castle, reminding him of the promise he made to the guards yesterday. The guy with short black hair clenches his fist and confidently declares that everything is fine. And then the group resolutely heads towards the king, passing through a guarded hall with knights on both sides. Ryu stands in the hallway with the guards. The guard informs him that the king is waiting for him. At the same time, he notices a lot of guards and assumes that someone wants to greet them, and one of the knights asks them to behave more respectfully. In the throne room, soldiers stand guard, and in front of the throne, 2 men with a dog are preparing for an audience with the ruler. Besides, Ryu looked at the king in surprise. He looked at him seriously. He reflects on the dwarf's strength, comparing him to high-ranking monsters, and advises him to behave more modestly in front of the king. Additionally, Ryu called View his mentor and addressed him with respect. The king learned of the boy's arrival in the city for trade and approaches him. In the end, Ryu responds with surprise to the king's accusation of theft. The boy makes excuses to the king for the trophy he has obtained, but the king has doubts and asks why he is considered a thief. After which the king doubts the words of the mentor about the extraction of materials in the great forest, where the Fenrir live. Ryu approached the king for a recommendation for his friend. The king learned that she was an ordinary huntress with no name. When he doubts what is happening, and he is irritated and thinks that something is wrong with him, the old man calls it a lie. The king claims that he is being deceived, and his companions point to the many armed soldiers and the forgetfulness towards his grandmother. The boy then decides to ask directly, and the king offers to discuss the terms and says that he will make equipment in exchange for the skins behind him. A man sits on a throne and denies the theft, while another clenches his fists in response. Following this, Ryu declared that he would not give up the skins, causing the king to react in surprise. He refuses to bargain and trust. He asks what this means. Meanwhile, the boy decided not to tell the king anything. The king, in a rage, called him an impudent man, and the knights prepared for battle. Ryu admitted that he could not win with such a balance of forces. The king asked if he would resist, and then ordered them to be thrown into prison. And then he stands in front of a dark corridor and decides to move forward. Ryu noticed that all their skin had been taken. The guard invited them in and walked down the corridor. At the same time, he reflects on the fact that the Fong remained with him, the soldiers did not search him, and that otherwise they would have earned many enemies and would have been expelled from the country. Ryu flinched as the man in the shadows tried to get his attention by saying that he just needed to. Besides, the guy was surprised that someone was there. The man asked him why he was put in jail. The guy answered that he had not noticed the person sitting quietly. Ryu asked why the other man was there, and he replied that he refused to sell the skins to the king. He also said the word treason. The character said that he tried to dissuade the king from hunting monsters in the forest, but even with the kingdom's dwarves, they could not defeat the Fenrirs. Eventually, Ryu reflects on the king's temperament and understands why he wanted his skin, but thinks that sending him to prison for it is too harsh. He was surprised. The man explained that he was not their king, although he thought otherwise due to his acquaintance with the elder. After which the guy learned that in front of him was the king's younger brother named Dorf. The hero reports that Dorf seized the throne with the help of soldiers, deceiving everyone with his resemblance to the king. When the guy says that the Real King is sitting in a solitary confinement cell behind a huge iron door with a curse placed on him so that he cannot escape. The boy thanks Lear and agrees to go with him, thinking about the need to free his older brother and tell him everything. Ryu then confidently declares that nothing is impossible for them, and together with the wolf, he tries to break through the bars, despite the guard's warnings. The boy asked who they were. The other replied that he was the mentor, and his companion was a familiar. Following this, the guy with the dog noticed that there were only 2 guards and asked if they could fight, promising to help the king, since he had business with him. Ryu ordered to move forward and cover the others. He rushed forward with the animal while the man spoke about the need to draw a weapon. Meanwhile, Lyra is ordered not to kill, but only to knock out the enemies, while the guards demand an explanation and forbid them passage. Ryu claims that victory is his, while another warrior notes that the enemies are moving slowly and their movements are predictable. And then the knight wonders why his sword doesn't work and shouts that he will kill the wolf with 1 blow, while the beast calmly holds the sword in its mouth. Ryu defeated the soldiers, after which he and his companion discussed the training and wondered what to do with the door. At the same time, he notices that the strong door with the curse is made in such a way that it is impossible to escape from the inside, but the curse does not affect him from the outside. Ryu breaks the wall, exclaiming, "That's it!" as a man and a dog watch. In addition, an elderly man with a beard sits against the wall and asks who is in front of him. Ryu asked the dwarf King Dovar how he got here. In addition, he thanks his brother for his efforts, apologizes for him, and asks his interlocutor for a favor. Ryu asked for equipment. The old man explained that the Fenrir elder recommended him because of his skills. In the end, he asks Lyre to prove his words, and he is surprised that the Fenrir could contact a person. Ryu informed that Lyre was the elder's granddaughter and had the magic to transform Fenris. The elder apologized for his mistrust and agreed to fulfill the request. He then asks if something can be made from the Fong, and the other man explains that he cannot refuse a friend of the Fenris and wants to apologize in this way. Lyre and Ryu listen to a man with a beard who talks about creating a legendary weapon and promises not to let anyone touch it. When a man with a beard persistently asks permission to make a weapon for his interlocutor, the guy admitted that he didn't expect this, but he was ready to rely on the elder, who thanked him. Ryu then says that he needs to deal with his brother, and Lyre warns that getting the throne back won't be easy, but he's fine. The man claims that the throne is his and he will find evidence of betrayal. The guy suggests leaving while he can. Ryu then deflects the arrows and says, "Let's go." A group of people follow him to the barred door in the cell. He asks the man if everyone has been released and if he is okay, to which he thanks him for helping to free his subordinates. Meanwhile, Ryu proposed to overthrow the false king, clenching his fist and expressing confidence in his words. The boy admitted that he had lost his way, but the old man insisted that he should figure it out on his own. And then Lyre and the boy turned to the elder brother, who said that he had to bring his younger brother to his senses. She warns Ryu to be careful. He promises to contact her after the end and tells her about a hidden passage outside. At the same time, the old man calls everyone forward, demanding the return of the throne, and the crowd with raised fists supports him with shouts. Ryu suggests that Lyre return to the hotel, after which he looks at the people running away in the hallway. In addition, the guy pointed out to Lyra to turn left during their walk down the corridor. She asked Ryu if he heard a familiar voice. He said he didn't think so. She was surprised and said she heard it again. In addition, he and Lyre walk cautiously down the corridor, discussing the voice they heard and assuming that there is someone around the corner, after which they decide to move on. Someone said the word chick, while looking at the small furry creature lying on the ground. Lyre ends up surprised by his presence here, while Ryu believes that he might have gotten lost due to his weakness. They react with fear when the creature with ears suddenly shoots fire in their direction. After which Ryu is surprised that the creature can breathe fire, and Lyre calms him down, explaining that it is not an animal, but a monster, and asks what is the matter. He notices the lack of damage to the creature. She assumes it is hungry. The guy complains about the confiscation of things. When Lyre suggests taking someone with them, Ryu promises to find them food once they get out, at which point the creature happily eats. He says the baby eats for 3. She notes that he looks healthy, and the guy decides to release the bird into the wild. Then the girl with the ears said, "Pee," hugging the fluffy bird to herself. Ryu explains that he saved someone for the wrong reason. Lyre asks if he wants to make a contract, and the girl notices that someone has become attached to Ryu. Following this, he proposes to sign a contract, claiming that he has no objection to them being together. Ryu wakes up in bed and tries to say something, hearing sounds outside the window and feeling the morning silence. Meanwhile, he feels a heaviness in his stomach, and Lyre asks why she feels so heavy. Ryu woke up and said that it must have been him who climbed onto the bed and asked him to get up. And then the bird curled up and fell asleep. Ryu saw Lyre sleeping on the bed. At the same time, the guy loudly calls for Lyre, and she, sitting in bed, asks why he is shouting. Lyre is surprised to see a large chick. He asks why it has become so big. The boy confirms that it is their chick from yesterday. She also explains that monsters can evolve by absorbing magical energy, and suggests that the baby has significantly increased his strength, while the boy admits that he had no idea about it. Lyre tells Ryu that soldiers have come for him. The bird has flown away. Ryu says that since he is awake, he must answer. She also informs him that the king is calling him, and he is glad of his arrival and addresses him as His Majesty. The boy asked the king if they had dealt with his brother. The king replied that it was all thanks to him. In the end, the guy asked to listen to someone before equipping, and another person told him to stop hiding and talk to Mr. Ryu. The man with the beard called the other dwarf, and the other, embarrassed, addressed him as Mr. He and Mrs. Liar. After which, Ryu apologized to the man, bowing deeply. Lear asked him why he pretended to be a king. He replied that it was difficult and admitted that he felt like a different person. When a man admitted that he had always envied his older brother, the boy listens to the old man's story about seizing the throne, imprisoning his brother, and gaining access to all the country's resources, despite the master's pride. The boy then realized that the mentor had brought a rare product and admitted his mistake, failing to control himself and deciding not to sell the materials to him. Ryu listens to apologies from two people, one of whom is wearing a crown, and agrees that he understands the situation. He then asks for forgiveness for his brother, and the other man objects, saying that the request is not necessary. Two men with beards are talking, and one offers to make equipment for the other. Meanwhile, Ryu asks who the brother is. The old man replies that he is better at creating equipment, although Ryu is capable of creating stronger weapons. He clenches his fist and says that this will be their atonement. And then the two men with elf ears remember their former strong brotherly bond. One of them says that they used to be inseparable. Two men discuss how one of them has begun to distance himself and take orders, depriving his brother of the opportunity to develop. At the same time, Lear and Rue listen to a conversation between two older men about a conflict and the regrets of one of them. The king assigns a task to him for his skills and asks him to complete it, to which he agrees. In addition, Ryu agreed to create high-quality equipment and weapons, expressing his trust in the craftsman. One of the old men was surprised and asked why he did this. Liar asks Dwarf to create better equipment for him. The king asks if he understands and is surprised that no one objects. In addition, the elderly man reminded his interlocutor of his self-praise and offered to prove it with action. The man with the crown asks Dwarf not to let him down. Eventually the old man cries, then calms down and holds out his hand wearing the crown. The two men shake hands firmly. One promises to build the best gear in the country, and the other enthusiastically agrees. After which Ryu is happy about the reconciliation, and the man with the crown apologizes for the wait and suggests doing other things. Someone noted that they had not returned for a long time, kneeling in the grass. When the boy suggested that a crowd of residents would gather again, the girl replied with a smile that he was still a hero, and it was no wonder that everyone loved him while they were riding. The guy offered to meet Ryu, and the girl agreed. Then they show a destroyed house with boards knocked out and debris scattered around. The guy asks why the hero is here, and the girl turns to Ryu. After this, the boy asked what happened to him, and the girl asked Tiamat to calm down and tell what happened in their friend's house. The guy told the girl that Ryu was missing. Meanwhile, the two discuss the disappearance of a man who has been missing for about 2 months after his house was destroyed at night due to a loud noise. The man said he did not understand why Ryu, who was helping with the cattle, had disappeared. The interlocutor expressed complete incomprehension of the situation. And then the girl with the ears listens attentively to the man, who claims that clumps of wool were found in the house and suggests that it was a monster, not an ordinary animal. The girl is determined to find Ryu, despite another character's objections about the mission and lack of a plan. At the same time, the girl on the horse promised to wait for him and definitely find him. Ryu declared that he would not let another die. Also, the guy in the forge is working on a sword that is thrust into the anvil with force. Ryu and Lear watch as the older man. In addition, he and she look worried, and the old man with the spear is watching something tensely that makes them uneasy. The image shows hands holding a sword and shield, with Japanese text in the background. Finally, the guy with black hair said that something wasn't melting. The guy admitted that he tried to melt the strong fong many times, but he couldn't do it. After which Liar was surprised, and the guy asked the elder if there was a Fenrir fong that could melt a flame comparable to the elder's power. She suggested using the Garda flame. The guy was surprised and asked again what it was. When Liar asks if Guard is the legendary bird, Guard replies that he has heard of its power to kill dragons, to which the boy doubts it, considering it a fairy tale. The girl asked Ryu if he had really seen her, and he replied that they had found a chick in the dungeon. The girl with the ears then explains to Liar that with the help of his magic, the monster was able to grow noticeably in one night, which is something that ordinary monsters cannot do. Ryu and two old men discuss the possible location of Guard. Following this, he is asked to go on a search, warning that the castle cannot be left unattended, as only it is capable of creating a flame powerful enough to melt the Fong. Ryu stated that he could be relied upon despite the doubts. Meanwhile, Lear is walking through a deserted area, and she says that it is not so easy to find someone there. Ryu doubts that he is bait. She explains that the mana was supposed to attract him, and the guy admits that he may have been overconfident. And then Lear suggests looking at other places, but he is stopped by voices, and they are attacked by a large winged creature. Ryu and she were surprised that the bird was flapping its wings. At the same time, Lear heard that he might be wounded and ordered him to run faster. He replied that he understood. The image shows a wolf growling at a small creature. Also, Ryu asked if anyone was okay, and Lear replied that there was no visible damage. He and she look at the sleeping creature, discussing how it was closer than expected and perhaps it doesn't have parents. In addition, the character with the black beak believes that the other was not alone in the dungeon, since he has no place to return to and he did not fly far. Ryu said he was tired. Liar advised him to rest. Someone asked about the guard. He ends up doubting whether he can help them and notices that he has woken up. Ryu looks at the bird and asks if it wants to rest some more, after which the guy calms Lear down, saying that it is safe here, and asks if she is still afraid, to which she remains silent and looks at him. Lear offers to sign a contract. The guy is surprised. When Ryu explains that they need someone they can rely on, he offers to make a contract and warns of possible troubles if they are not around. The boy offered Guard a contract, explaining that his strength would be useful to him. The guy then offers the bird to fly away if she doesn't want to stay and asks what she would choose. Ryu stared at the bird that had landed on his head. It seemed he hadn't expected it. Following this, he talks to Lear about the name of the bird sitting on his shoulder and making the sound pi. Ryu suggests continuing to the town square with its beautiful views, and the other man expresses surprise at the desire to sign a contract with the guard, noting the large crowd. Meanwhile, the townspeople and guards discuss the unexpected gathering. One of them recognizes Mac and is surprised, while another notices a large crowd of people. Ryu and Liar suggest they come another day, but the king explains that they can't avoid attention. Ryu admits that he didn't want to attract unnecessary attention, and then he gave her a name and made a contract, standing next to her and holding a bird in his hand. Ryu declared his intention to perform a ritual of family unification, to which the bird only responded with P. At the same time, he named the bird Karen and suggested that they begin. Liar and Ryu are surprised by the sudden appearance of a powerful vortex and wonder what is going on. In addition, the guy notices the evolution of the monster and is surprised that this is only possible for high-ranking ones, and the girl confirms that it really is evolving. Ryu noticed a crack, and Liar decided to greet her new acquaintance. He also informs Karen that she is hatching and hugs her as she and Tiamat watch the event. The boy is worried about Karen. She is happy to see him and explains that she has always been alone. He wonders why she became human. As a result, the bird says that when it was born, there were no parents or friends nearby, and it was constantly looking for them, but people immediately attacked as soon as they noticed it. The guy said that his dad and sister helped him that day, and the girl added that he flew away after hearing the soldier. After which the girl thanks them for their kindness and says that she decided to take on an appearance similar to theirs because she likes them very much. Ryu ignores the call, but the girl insists and he answers. Lear watches. When a guy scolds the old men for causing a firestorm, then assures them that everything went fine, attracting the attention of the gentleman. Ryu introduced Karen, who had taken the form of a human. The king was surprised and noted that this was to be expected from a legendary bird. He then asks if they can handle it with Karen's help, to which the old man replies that with such power there won't be any problems, and suggests returning to the workshop and calming the townspeople. The guy with the pen in his hand wonders who Ryu is and notices that he is an unusual person. He then shows off the leather armor, calling it his masterpiece, and the old man thanks him for the rare materials and admires their creation. Ryu asks about the effect of disabling temperature changes, and the old man replies that fire and ice magic cannot penetrate armor. Meanwhile, the man explains that the resistance to fire magic was achieved thanks to the feathers added to the material and thanks Karen. Ryu thanks him. The man with the ears claims that it is useful to protect against the cold and heat. Another man enters and apologizes for the wait. And then the voice announces that the blade is ready. The guy notices the one-sided sharpening of the dagger, and the other admires the blade from Fenrir's Fong and is pleased with the result. At the same time, the man explained that the blade was special and sharpened using the technique of Eastern countries, and the guy praised the girl for her help. Ryu explains the importance of engraving on the blade so that only the owner can wear it, and admits that he doesn't know what name to give the weapon. In addition, Lear suggested calling the blade Wolf, to which he reacted with embarrassment, saying that it was predictable and asked what happened. Ryu discusses with two men that it would be better to try something out in a real fight, while down below the guy notices that a huge crowd is gathering again, waiting for the show. He also agrees to start, warning that he will not get too carried away, and the king apologizes and promises not to let the citizens get close to the castle. A crowd gathered in the square to test the blade created by the king. Ryu ultimately decides to aim his attack at the sky, despite warnings not to hold back. Lear, the girl with the tail, and he watched the proceedings as the crowd marvels at the power and discusses what they have seen. After which, Ryu is surprised by his father's strength, and Fenrir and Aya note that Ryu's magical power was beyond expectations. He and Lyre and the others watch the dragon's appearance, and one of them loudly calls for everyone to watch if everything is satisfactory. As Ryu and she, along with the other heroes, stand up to defend themselves, preparing to attack the massive creature that is approaching them. The older man greets his companions and is surprised that they recognize him, asking where they are from. Then the guy was surprised that it was an elder in front of him, and he, smiling, confirmed that he was seeing this appearance for the first time. Ryu wonders why she looks young. The woman explains that the photo shows Lear's father and mother, and that her grandmother looks too young. The boy then asked Mr. Fenrir how he was doing. He replied that he was fine, and the other man explained that he wanted to talk to him for a bit. The guy asked what they needed, and the man replied that he had recently woken up with a problem, and the other added that he would like to know a lot, but would put it off until later. Meanwhile, the voice tells of a three-headed evil dragon capable of using all types of magic, which he had already fought but could not defeat, and so decided to seal it. The boy recognized the demon and noticed the weakening of the seal. The man and his companions announced their readiness for battle. And then Ryu asks for help from the girl with ears, saying that he will need allies in battle. He asks where the dragon is. Lyre replies that it is in the Dragon Empire. The guy advises to be more confident and promises to help his grandfather. At the same time, the hero said that the seal was in a cave near the Imperial Castle, and everyone would fight together. The guy is surprised that Fenrir would ask a human for help, and the other explains that the details will be told on the way. The guy is also surprised by the dragon. The stranger asks if he is Fenrir's apprentice and offers to introduce himself. The boy is surprised that monsters from the same family understand human speech, and the man introduces the Earth Dragon as his son-in-law. Also, two old men are preparing to leave for the Dragon Empire, and one of them admits that he is a little nervous about the upcoming journey. Lear asked the guy if the girl was his new girlfriend, to which he remained silent, and she looked at him embarrassedly. In the end, Ryu accuses the guy of stealing his daughter and cheating on her, and he reacts to his words with surprise. Lear and the guy hadn't seen each other for a long time. She noticed that someone was bored, and he asked her to stop. The guy then says that she cares about Karen, and she explains that she considers her a little sister, demonstrating how they bathe and eat together. Ryu asks if the girl's parents are worried. The girl replies that she doesn't have any, but her dad and sister are kind to her. Ryu agrees that everything is fine then. When Lear consoles the girl, he says that if he considers her a sister, then they are like family. The man notes that she is still very young and is lucky to have met good people. For characters claim that they can safely call them their family. Then Ryu exclaimed, and from above the dragon announced that they would soon arrive at a huge city. The guy asked if this was the Dragon Empire. The girl confirmed and added that the entire city and palace belonged to her. The guy admitted that he didn't like the empire very much because of its small size. Ryu then explains that thanks to transformation magic, he can live in a house built to human standards for dragons, and notes that it is difficult. He thanked them. The other man agreed to go as long as there was a large dragon standing in the square next to them. Meanwhile, Lear promises to show him around, and the guy with black hair thinks he has become a human. Two guards meet a man with long hair. He thanks them for their work and welcomes the guest. And then the character with the horns asks if these people are friends. The other one answers that they are Fenrir and his family, and with legendary monsters, victory is guaranteed. The guy with horns asked who this person was. The girl answered that it was her student. He, surprised, clarified that it was him. At the same time, Ryu notices that humans are very weak compared to them, and the two men ask if his student is really human and if everything is okay. Lear asks his father why he is angry. His father explains that they may be considered weak, but he denies this when others react with irritation. Moreover, he agreed to demonstrate the strength of their student. The guy demands to call the boss, warns that Ryu will deal with him in 2 seconds. The other one reacts to this with surprise. In addition, the photo shows a man with short blonde hair, which attracted the attention of those around him. Ryu prepares for battle. The crowd wishes him luck and warns him not to lose, until one of the adults suggests discussing the rules. He ends up agreeing to the terms of the fight, despite being considered an ordinary person. The guy with horns warns of his intentions and begins the attack, and the other one says it's time to act. Ryu then fights off the sword-wielding attacker, admitting that it's hard for him and expressing irritation. He confronts the enemy, who laughs and says that with such powers, he will not be able to defeat the Dark Dragon. The guy replies that he will not give up. When Ryu explains that one must use sword techniques and hold back one's powers, so that a chance will appear when attacking with magical power. He shouts, "Now!" as he prepares to attack the horned enemy, who looks at him with a smirk. Then the guy with short black hair slams into the wall with force, while the other one watches what is happening tensely. Ryu and Lyre, along with the other characters, stare at Tiamat, who screams and clenches her fist. Following this, the guy with the sword worries about the pain and strength of the wolf, while the others declare victory over him, and the woman asks to stop. Ryu asks if everything is okay and is assured that it is nothing. The others congratulate him on his victory. Meanwhile, he heard that nothing would happen to them, and the other man noted that he had become stronger, after which the woman promised to open the gate. A girl with long hair and ears crashes into a glass door. And then Lear stands among a group of people, all looking tensely ahead, sensing an impending threat. The character encourages you to move on by saying the word, "Let's go." At the same time, the character with long hair says that he is heading to the Dragon Empire. 3 people watch the building. One of them is surprised that their soldiers were defeated so easily. In addition, on a busy street with traditional buildings, people walk by, some talking and looking around, creating an atmosphere of everyday life in a foreign country. The guy noted the beauty of the place, and the woman called it the land of dragons, very different from human lands. Also, Lear asked Karen what happened. She replied that nothing happened while they were standing in the store and on the street. Someone asked if I liked the bow, showing 2 large bows on the table. Eventually, Tiamat suggests they take a walk before the battle. Ryu suggests they go shopping, and Lyre happily agrees. 3 people are walking down the street. 1 is smiling, 2 are looking ahead, preparing for an event. After which it is said that first you need to meet with the Emperor. A guy with horns discusses documents with a crocodile in the hallway, while other characters walk past, minding their own business. When the characters discuss racial diversity, they explain that dragons are kind to everyone, and that draconites are half dragon and half lizard-headed humans that evolved. The boy asks about the strength of the Dragon Emperor. The man replies that he is much stronger than the boy and the strongest in the empire. Then in the throne room, two people are looking forward, and on a dais sit the king and queen under curtains. Ryu thinks that the imperial family is very different, while Lear welcomes the emperor. Following this, she greets the Earth Dragon and is surprised that he has found so many strong allies, especially a man capable of defeating the captain of the Guardians, which causes her tension. Ryu remains silent, and Lear says that he is counting on him and has never seen such strong people, asking him to say something. Meanwhile, the man suggested discussing tactics with Fenrir's family, and the woman said that they had prepared restrooms. Ryu, Lyre, and the girl with the tail listen to Tiamat, who asks them a question. And then the guy is surprised that only they will participate in the battle, and the other man doubts, asking what about the others, and admits that he is speaking frankly. The character with long hair admits that he used to be friendly with other races, but now because of the hero they are being denied support. At the same time, Ryu asks if he is fit to be a hero, and the man assures that there are few of them, but everything will be fine. The boy and girl discuss how the hero perceives all monsters as enemies and attacks even half-humans. Helping Tiamat will not work, despite her status as a hero. Additionally, Ryu asks if she is attacking all monsters indiscriminately, and the other man admits that the chances of winning are slim and apologizes. He says that before the journey he spoke with Tiamat and mentioned Ti's strange behavior. The interlocutor is interested in this unusual behavior. In addition, the guy with long hair says that the girl's gaze changes beyond recognition when accepting a request to kill monsters, and the other one with glasses warns that this is not a word. Ryu thought about it. The other person assumed that the heroic spirit was dominant in him, and agreed with this. Eventually, a group of people approached the castle gates, and one of them became indignant, calling the request absurd. The guy with glasses learned that to create a weapon from Fenrir's fangs, you need the flame of Garrod. The king promises a legendary weapon upon collecting all the materials. After which Ryu heard from Lyre that the king was a skilled blacksmith, but he reminded her that powerful weapons required materials. The girl decided to forget about it and asked what was the point of coming here. Knight Gran advises Tiamat to acquire a good weapon, given her constant dangers. When the group discusses the plan to go to the guild to find information about the materials they need, they agree with this decision. The man notices something strange in the behavior of the people, who remain silent when the Fenrir and guard are mentioned, and asks if something has happened in the country. The hooded man then introduced himself as an information broker, and the other two asked him who he was. The two men discuss why the hero is interested in Fenrir's fangs and Gar's flame, and mention that the king said that these items are needed to obtain the weapons. Following this, the hooded guy refused the money and asked to tell one story, despite the other man's insistence to learn something important. The woman reports that a month ago a man appeared with the company of Fenrir and Garrod, who helped suppress the rebellion of the king's younger brother and became a hero of the country. Meanwhile, rumors are circulating about the hero's hatred of monsters and fears that he might kill Fenrir and Gard, who are friends with one guy. Tiamat warns that revealing the information will lead to betrayal and revenge. The other character demands an explanation, but receives a cryptic answer. And then she decisively declares that she will definitely kill them, and someone asks her to wait and thanks her for the information. The guy promises to destroy all the monsters, addressing a girl named Luna. At the same time, the guy with long hair resolutely declares that he will find another after this is all over, as they quickly walk away into the distance. Lear and two companions are sitting at a table. One of them says wearily that they are finally finished. In addition, Ryu reports that nothing was decided at the meeting. Only the Dragon Emperor and the Elder discussed tactics. Lear suggests taking a walk around the palace. He agrees, but someone warns him not to walk around the palace mindlessly. In addition, Ryu recognized the maid next to the Empress. She asked where they were going. Ryu replied that he wanted to see the palace. The group walks down the hallway. The maid invites the girl to follow her, showing her the dining room, library, and training grounds. In the end, Tiamat showed the Imperial Garden, and Ryu and Lyre admired its beauty. He asks about the princess, and the maid replies that she likes it here too, while she and two other girls admire the beauty of the place. Ryu then asks if there is a princess here, and Tiamat replies that she is very important to the country. The guy asked the girl if she needed something from him, and she tried to answer, embarrassed and uncertain. When Tiamat demands that he give her the sword, the guy resolutely refuses. The girl screams that she is not a child, and the guy explains that such things are not toys for children. Ryu then agreed, and Tiamat apologized and said that she would call the girl's parents. He thinks that she is being fooled. Lear suggests waiting. The guy claims that her parents will come soon. Following this, the girl declares that she will take the power by force, and the guy reacts to her words with surprise. Ryu demands the sword back, but he refuses, finding her movements predictable. Meanwhile, Tiamat demands to give something, and the guy refuses, asking Lyra and Karen to help. Lear claims that he can handle it himself, while Cordelia asks her father to play with her, and Edmund complains about the lack of help. And then Ryu demands that the breakdown be fixed, and the guy is surprised by her anger. The guy attacks, says he made him angry, and suggests saying something before hitting him. At the same time, Ryu repels the attack and sees the enemy flying into the column. He asks if the maid, who is shaking and making strange sounds, is okay. Moreover, Tiamat is crying and screaming, and Ryu and Lyre are looking at her anxiously. He can't win. She calms him down and offers to call a doctor, apologizing for the wait. Furthermore, Ryu asked why the Empress was here. She replied that her parents were supposed to come instead of her, while the maid stood silently nearby. He listens attentively to the stranger's apology for his daughter's behavior. She eventually confirmed that the girl was indeed her daughter after he asked her. Tiamat states that she doesn't know how to communicate with children, and the guy wonders why they didn't stop her right away when they heard that she was a granddaughter. After which the girl with bows notices the princess of the Dragon Empire, another girl, a guy and a dog standing in the distance. Ryu is surprised to meet Tiamat. Tiamat says that it has been a long time since they met, and she is glad to see him again. When the girl complains that he dodges her attacks, the boy explains that it is not his fault, while the other man realizes that she wanted to take the sword. Tiamat argues that it's time to step up their training, while the other girl insists that she would have definitely won if she had stood still. She then apologizes to Ryu and says that she has something to ask of him, and he reacts with embarrassment. Tiamat asks for help with the princess's training, but when she refuses, she suggests finding a stronger trainer to awaken fear of the rival. Following this, Ryu and she discuss preparations for the succession to the throne, and the girl admits that she feels calmer when she is around them. He doubts, but agrees after the man's persuasion. Meanwhile, Ryu asked to be trained and Sakura agreed, asking everyone to raise their heads, while Hinata nodded silently. Tiamat agreed to train the boy. He expressed gratitude and expressed a desire to better prepare for battle. And then the girl with the ponytail says that she will also train, and the guy with black hair refuses when she offers to do something. Ryu turns to the girl with wings, who says she doesn't want to stay on the sidelines forever. At the same time, Lear agrees to train the girl, and the guy offers to help strengthen her. Tiamat asks not to kill someone and suggests starting from tomorrow. The guy is surprised and reacts to their conversation. She also threw the guy who fell down and demanded that he get up, saying that they were not finished yet. Ryu thinks that the elder is working with Karen, and Tiamat advises him to conserve his strength, warning that with such movements the dragon cannot be defeated. He also resolutely promises to become stronger and not back down from his goal, admiring Karen and Lyre's efforts. Tiamat announced that that was enough for today, but demanded that they run 100 laps around the area, causing surprise among those present. She eventually announced that she would watch her diet, and Ryu and Lear took the news with sadness. She asked if the other person was okay. He replied that he didn't know, and Tiamat left, saying that she would return, since objections were not accepted. After which Ryu admitted that he was surprised by John, and Sarah with a bow said that it was hard for her to endure all this. Lear advises the princess to think through her movements before attacking, and she replies that she can continue despite her fatigue. As she evaluates Ryu's movements, noting his slow reaction, she says that it might work with the princess. The guy claims that it is important to follow the enemy's movements in order to catch up with him. He assures that it is easy, even if the interlocutor doubts. Tiamat then explains that one must sense the enemy's mana to understand how to deal with them. The character says that reading the enemy's mana will help to understand his actions in battle. Following this, Ryu answers the old man about the pressure when meeting a strong opponent, and the interlocutor admits that it is difficult to understand in words. Tiamat says that they already understand this feeling, and suggests that they consolidate it in a real fight, while the guy reacts to her actions in surprise. Meanwhile, Ryu panics and asks her to stop, not understanding what is happening, while she buttons her buttons, causing him to be confused and ask questions. The guy stands facing a huge dragon, who looks at him seriously. And then Ryu reacts with surprise to his interlocutor's words about fighting in a new form. The hero challenges to use any weapon to win. At the same time, Ryu objects that the condition is too harsh, and Lear explains that the mistress will also participate in the battle and attack only after she dodges. He says that he sees only himself, as he has chosen the speaker as his teacher, as they walk through the deserted area. The man also warned Ryu about the start of real training and ordered him to be ready. After that, a cry of "Let's begin!" was heard. He fights the dragon, and Lyre reminds him of her power. Additionally, Tiamat realizes that she needs to dodge to avoid the attack. While the boy stands there in confusion, Ryu chides Lyre for his forgetfulness and calls on him to sense mana, but he replies that it is impossible to think during a fight. In the end, the hero warns of the impossibility of victory, relying only on sight, against the backdrop of an explosion and destruction. Ryu stands with his sword, emitting fiery energy, preparing for the final battle. After which the boy addressed Tiamat by name, and the dragon admitted that for a human she showed a good result, asking about her limit. Ryu reflects on the elder's words. When a character with scaly skin decides to try something, a man with a goatee and a grim expression watches him. Tiamat offers to kill the enemy, considering it her chance, and he asks if this is all, to which the girl is surprised. Then Ryu asks for mercy, and the voice threatens. This is the end. He regrets his efforts in vain. He firmly rejects something, declaring that he will not accept it, while Lear stands behind him. Following this, Tiamat dodges the falling debris and watches what is happening in surprise. Ryu noticed the approaching huge paw, understood the situation and prepared to defend himself. Meanwhile, he reflects on his ability to sense his opponent's mana. He tells how he saw the trajectory of a blow and was able to dodge it. The other person congratulates him. Tiamat asked how they liked her game and expressed hope that they did not believe that she intended to kill them, to which the boy responded with relief that not everything was just a game. And then Ryu thanks her for her congratulations, and she smiles and says that he successfully passed her test. Tiamat screams that she alone knew nothing and will continue until she passes the test, while in the background someone sighs. At the same time, Ryu asks if she has passed the test, and she reproaches the girl not to be selfish and to stop being capricious. Tiamat asked what happened, and he answered her with irritation. Moreover, Ryu is surprised. Lear admits that she hit him, and she confirms that her task was to hit him. The girl is happy to hear that she also passed the test. In addition, Lear reports that she has passed the exam, to which the guy congratulates her. Ryu called Lyre and Karen, and the girl with the ears offered to eat. Everyone agreed. The two men end up at the table discussing their previous conversations and activities, reminiscing about their training. Tiamat reports on Ryu's progress, surprising him with her praise and predicting that he will surpass them all. After which she says that she is glad that the lady follows the example, and then asks if it will be possible to marry her off to Mr. On, which makes the man cough. Tiamat doubts the possibility of marrying the dragon princess to a human, and Lyre is confident that if he becomes stronger, he will be recognized. When a man says, "It's true," with a straight face, he assumed that someone had touched the other. The long-haired character then stated that an ordinary person could not have such power, and the girl admitted that she had seen it herself today. The character asks why Ryu. He explains that many have tried to gain power through the contract, but all have died horrible deaths. The choice is his. Following this, Lear warns that if he finds out about it, They will have a lot of problems. And the girl with the bonnet adds that he has received a power that no one could master. Two people at a table. One asks who knows and asks how he met Ryu. The other says he disappeared many years ago. Meanwhile, he reflects on his hidden power and claims that it will manifest itself at the right moment. Tiamat continued training, attacking an opponent who shouted, "Take that," before striking her. And then Ryu is happy with his success in training, and she is amazed at the speed of his development and says that his skills have clearly improved. He was surprised, and Tiamat said that there would be no training tomorrow. At the same time, she notices fatigue after training and advises to rest, and the man offers to take a walk with Karen and Lyre, promising to inform the elder. The guy suggested that they go sightseeing since they weren't able to walk around the city, and he agreed. In addition, the guy wakes up in bed and hears someone calling his name, and the sun is shining outside the window. Lyre tries to wake up Ryu, who weakly says her name. She also tries to wake him up by loudly calling for him to wake up. Ryu asked Lyra, and she replied that Karen was already waiting and told him to get dressed quickly. Finally, someone reminds us of the promise we made to go for a walk today, against the backdrop of a street with traditional buildings. The guy asked where they were going, and the girl with the ears answered that she didn't know the city, and the other one thought about it. After which Ryu suggests going to the store. Lyra agrees, and the girl is surprised and says that this is a great idea. The guy was surprised that the princess agreed to go for a walk and promised to show him everything, telling him to be grateful. When Tiamat agreed to look after the princess, the boy expressed hope for help from Lyre if necessary. A guy bows politely in an empty room with display cases. Then the guy suggested watching it together, and the girl with two ponytails reacted tensely to his words. Ryu asked Lyre if he could ask her something. She replied that she was a princess and already had everything, although he noted that girls like jewelry. After this, he began to speak embarrassedly, and she asked him why he wanted to become stronger. Ryu admitted that he wanted to be on par with his friends, and his interlocutor asked him to simply answer. Meanwhile, he explains that both of them received rare combat jobs, but he was left behind and therefore wanted to become stronger. Tiamat asked Ryu if the desire to become stronger was worth the failure of his profession. Ryu replied that he wanted to be a mentor, which surprised Tiamat. And then Lyre helps the girl with wings, and the guy is surprised that he lost to an ordinary mentor, explaining that he trained a lot and received strength thanks to Lyre. She said that without meeting Lyre she would have remained a shepherd and would not have seen other countries. Then she asked about other countries. At the same time, Ryu said that he had only traveled to one country. Tiamat asked where he had been and what kind of people lived there, wondering if it had been fun. The girl is surprised that he has never left the empire, and he replies that she, as a princess, should travel a lot. She also admitted that she felt trapped and could not just leave the country because she was a princess. The girl asks irritably how he can understand her. The guy replies that he was the same as her and it is not so easy to understand him. Ryu also admits that he envied his friend's freedom to travel and was jealous of the souvenirs, but never left his village and learned news from them. Tiamat believes that her parents and grandmother always take care of her, but she wants to see the whole world, and the guy confirms her desire to visit every country. Ryu ended up asking the girl about her desire to meet different people, try different foods, and find a new place to receive praise. The girl says that she wants to find friends. The guy replies that he can handle it himself, but with doubts. After which the guy is surprised that the girl tried to make friends with them, and the other asks his father to look at this. Lyre makes excuses to the girl for talking, and the guy asks if she has chosen something and says that it suits her. When the boy explained that the princess wanted to be friends with them, the girl in the maid's cap screamed in fright, and the other asked in surprise who had given her permission. The girl asks if they are no longer friends. The guys react with surprise and bewilderment. The girl then admitted that she had a family but would like to make friends, and the other one reacted with fear to her words. Ryu admitted that he had few friends, and Lyre replied that he would be glad to be friends with him too. Following this, Tiamat proposes to become friends and asks to address her by name. She promises to choose a ribbon, despite the doubts of the girl with ears. The girl with the ears says it's proof of friendship, and the other one, with short hair and bangs, agrees. Meanwhile, Lear and the guy discuss how the others are having fun and how good it is that they quickly became friends, and the girl agrees with this. Ryu asked her if she bought anything and said that they had money from selling the materials so that she wouldn't be embarrassed, and she replied that the chains looked like a collar and she didn't like it. And then he offers to treat Lear, who thinks that another girl will interfere in the fight. She offers the girl with the ears to tie a scarf on her arm, saying that it matches her black hair, and she reacts with embarrassment. At the same time, Lear thanks Ryu for his help. Ryu suggests looking at something else, ending the conversation with words of gratitude for the purchase. She answers questions about shops and directions, and the guy asks where to go next. Plus, Ryu asked what happened, and Haruka confidently replied that they would definitely like it. Tiamat found the dragon and told him that she had found it. The boy asked what was wrong, and she said that they were in trouble. In addition, Ryu learns from her that the seal in the Dark Dragon's cave has weakened and he will break out today, and asks to show the seal, to which she agrees. The heroes returned to the castle and went to the cave. Eventually, a long tail appears in the dark tunnel, and a voice warns of an imminent event. Tiamat contemplates her imminent freedom, her shadow and words creating a tense atmosphere of anticipation. After which, Lyre said that the hour had come, and Ryu and the girl with the bow agreed, preparing for the upcoming event. The boy asked Tiamat if she had fought the Dark Dragon yet. She looked at him carefully. When she was young, she couldn't fight, but her relatives were able to defeat a strong opponent. Ryu doubts whether he can handle him. He listens as Tiamat advises him not to fill his head with unnecessary thoughts, after which she silently looks at him. She then convinces the guy to believe in himself, saying that he is strong and has achieved a lot, even if he himself does not believe it. Ryu says he'll try, and the guy agrees. Following this, a group of people, including Lyre, activate a magic circle in the cave, causing a powerful glow and cracks in the walls. Ryu asks who these people are. Tiamat replies that they are the Empire's magic casters fueling the seal with magic, while one of the attendants addresses the Emperor about the situation. Meanwhile, the seal is about to give way, and he warns that the dragon will break through in a few minutes, to which Lyre reacts in shock. A man orders an evacuation, warning of a dragon. And then the three heroes anxiously watch the collapsing wall, and in their thoughts they hear the anticipation of the long-awaited day. A group of people stand in front of a three-headed dragon in a cave, preparing for battle. At the same time, several people discuss the Fenrir and Dragonites, expressing doubts and tension about these creatures. The character with the magic circle refuses the insects and orders them to leave. Additionally, Ryu is surprised by the disappearance. The two men order a retreat, and Lyre demands an explanation for the whereabouts of the parents, while the creature is ready to fight them. A large wolf growls and destroys a wall in a cave. Additionally, the characters discuss the need to hurry and warn each other of the dangers of breaking through the dragon's magical space. The man called the creatures that appeared creatures of darkness, defending himself from their attack. Eventually, two characters notice the snake and discuss that someone wasted no time while the dragon was preparing the magic circle. Ryu attacks, ignoring his opponent's warnings to stop running. He then notices that the enemy did not dodge and presumably deliberately exposed himself to the blow, while he delivers a powerful blow to the creature with the skull. Tiamat warns of creating creatures of darkness from the enemy's blood, and Ryu attacks, trying to kill him in one blow. When he says they have the power of that man, she listens to him with tension. Ryu and Lyre discuss their inability to dodge the attack, and the skull creature asks if the creature has come to kill them. Tiamat then urges him to take his time and think carefully about his plan, to act within his capabilities while he is worried. She hopes that the Emperor and the others will return in time, noting that Ryu and the others have become stronger but lack combat experience. Following this, Tiamat declares the need to defend and destroy the enemy with one blow, while another character tries to stop her. Ryu is surprised to see the dragon form. The dragon attacks the other one, screaming that it is finished. Meanwhile, Lyre watches the magic circle, which surprises the dragon. Liar thinks that using silent magic is stupid. Ryu screams. She and the girl with wings are scared. After the explosion, a surprised creature appears. And then he calls to Tiamat, who looks tensely at the other dragon, preparing to attack. The dragon exclaimed, "Grandma!" And the stranger rudely ordered him to leave, calling him scum. At the same time, Lear shouts to his grandmother to hold on, and the dragon suspects paralysis magic. Tiamat with 3 heads criticizes the heroes for their weakness. One of them is afraid of falling if he does not get up. In addition, the wolf warns of the constant attacks of enemies and expresses concern about their endless onslaught. Liar warns that they have been too late and that they need to hurry to Ryu and the boys. Both wolves rush, trying to come up with a plan quickly. In addition, the guy asks to hold on while a huge 3-headed monster appears in front of them, demanding more and ordering them to attack him. Ryu screams about his grandmother while the dragon tries to protect her, and another character suggests removing the interference so he can become more serious. Eventually, Liar calls out to Tiamat and the other dragon, expressing concern for them. Ryu prepares for battle while standing next to the wolf and dragon after the explosion in the cave, after which he calms Oak down and asks him not to be afraid. Ryu reminds him of the purpose of their stay, warning that his death will cause Tiamat sorrow and the creature will feel remorse towards her grandmother. When he declared that all hope was on them and called for them to defend it with all their might, Ryu offers to fight the dragon together, addressing him by the name Uka. Then the dragon breathes heavily and tries to say something, but cannot finish the sentence. Ryu promises to be careful, and the dragon declares that everyone will fight together. Following this, the character with sharp claws and teeth challenged the opponents to show everything they could, and began an attack with magic aimed at a group of several figures. The boy calls out to Karen, who is quickly approaching. The voice warns him to get rid of her and asks if she has decided to attack the dragon with fire. Meanwhile, the girl with wings saves Karen from the wolf. The wolf asks if she is okay, and she thanks her sister for helping her. Ryu attacks, but the enemy replies that he will not go any further. And then he stands before the huge beast, preparing for battle. Liar explains that simple attacks cannot hurt the monster, and Tiamat warned to dodge its spells, and Ryu decides to remember his training to find the enemy's weakness. At the same time, he ponders the possibility of using magic reading while watching the approaching 3-headed dragon. The boy claims there is no choice. The girl with the dragon turns to Lear and Karen, pondering the truth of what is happening. In addition, Ryu is worried about the danger, and Lucy with wings is confused. He is confident that together they will cope and that he will be protected even if something happens. Also, the girl with wings says that she believes in them and wants to try, and there is a wolf standing next to her, listening attentively. Lear agrees to help. The guy asks to listen to him. In the end, the guy with the dragon says that everything is wrong, while the dark creature jumps from his hand. The character with claws notices that the enemy has used a spell and calls him a fast cur, warning that he cannot dodge in the air. The character with the ears then wonders why the guard flame didn't work, and notes that only bones should have been left of the target. Ryu protected the feather to prevent Liar from taking fire damage, and warned him not to let the enemy activate magic. Liar notices their attack with irritation. When the snake threatens to send the interlocutor to his grandmother, he calls him an idiot. Ryu reveals the source of the enemy's magic, his tail. In response, he claims that it will not be possible to deprive him of magic, as this was planned from the very beginning. Tiamat then battles a multitude of snakes, calling for a fight to the limit of her strength. Ryu notices that someone important is missing from them and firmly states that there is no hero. Following this, the character with the skull screams, demanding to show himself, and the other suspects that he is up to something. A boy with short black hair attacked a large beast and its accompanying wolf with a sword. Meanwhile, a dead creature with 3 snake-like heads lies on the ground in a pool of blood. Ryu asks if they won, while the winged creature and the wolf look worried. And then he turns around abruptly with a sword in his hands, noticing a dangerous creature with sharp teeth. Ryu declares victory. The dragon promises to help Grandma. the others express delight and relief. At the same time, he is amazed by the power of the blow, which was able to defeat even the Dragon of Darkness, and notes its incredibleness. Ryu asks his interlocutor if he wants a reward for his efforts, and says that his knowledge of magic will do. Moreover, he fought not for a reward, but to test his strength, wanting to meet a worthy opponent, while a crowd of people gathered around. The three-headed character claims that only a hero can match him, but everyone was scared and decided to seal him away. In addition, Ryu listens attentively to the creature, who says that he was looking for a worthy opponent. He ponders the curse of great power, hears that the mentor cannot fight and asks him to stay in the village, taking care of the animals while they go on a journey. Finally, Ryu asked what was going on and what his interlocutor wanted. He replied that he had decided to finish him off if nothing came to mind. He offered to become friends and called his interlocutor the Dragon of Darkness. Ryu then stands with his back to the wolf and dragon, explaining that he understands his loneliness despite his great power, and that he understands him better than anyone else. Lear addresses Hamlet, calling his name, as they look at the sun in the sky. When someone says they beat the other person once, only their foot is visible on the ground. Ryu approaches the dragon and offers to become friends. He then asks with a smile if it is his wish, but in response he hears a decisive, "I am against it," from another character. The guy stands before the defeated creature. He accuses him of murders and injuries, refuses to be friends, and warns about possible new murders. Following this, Ryu announced that he was no longer going to kill, and the dragon said, "Uka." The dragon clarifies that the spell disappeared after the victory, and the other dragon exclaims, "Grandma," and hugs him. Meanwhile, the two dragons explain to Ryu that in the world of monsters, the strongest survives, and the choice is now his. He discusses the possibility of defeating the enemy if he returns to Malice, and hopes to repeat the success. And then Ryu says that they may not be trusted, and is surprised that the other person does not believe him. He looks at the creature. The hooded guy is preparing to attack. Clutching his weapon, the monster looks worried. At the same time, Ryu thanks Oak for the warning and asks for his answer, then chuckles at the strange wish. The boy agreed and allowed himself to be healed as the hand with the magical light approached him. Furthermore, Ryu says that this will be proof of their friendship, showing a glowing object in his hands. He asks what it is, and the voice explains that it placed a piece of its soul in it. In addition, Ryu notices the disappearance of his interlocutor, who says goodbye and promises to meet soon. The boy fell to the ground and Lear cried out his name. Ryu ends up lying on the floor with a girl with long hair leaning over him, creating a tense atmosphere. He regains consciousness and asks where he is, and another character says that he is finally awake. After which the girl with long black hair quietly agreed. Ryu says that he can only communicate with her in this world. He thinks that she is too reckless and asks if she has woken up and recovered. When Lyre warns that the desire to become stronger is commendable, but he is taking too many risks, constantly being on the brink of death in battles and training with the dragon. She tells Ryu that the dragon has given him part of its soul. Then the girl with long black hair pointed to the egg and confirmed its location. The boy asks if it's a soul, and the girl explains that the dark dragon was originally a golden dragon with a strong soul, who became dark after learning forbidden magic. Following this, Lear told Ryu that he was very kind, and he only replied that he understood. She asks if he spared him because she is also a dragon. The guy replies that he does not want to take a life for no reason and admits that he likes her. Meanwhile, Lear shows an egg with a small dragon inside and suggests returning to the topic under discussion. Ryu asks when his body will come to life and be able to leave him, and she reassures him that she will look after him, but it is time for them to say goodbye. And then she says that she is not alone, despite the fact that the interlocutor regrets her loneliness and believes that she has always been alone. Lear claims that Ryu is safe and comfortable inside. Ryu agrees not to worry. At the same time, she asks if the other will be able to come out if she becomes a demon lord. The guy says that you can't become a demon lord and asks to end the conversation, despite attempts to interrupt it. Also, Lear tells Ryu that they will talk later, creating a glowing ball. Ryu is surprised. He reacts with surprise to the exclamation, and she and the others are glad that he is okay. Also, the guy asked where they were, and the girl with the ears replied that after his fall, they met their grandparents and everyone returned safely to the castle. Ryu thanks for the help and admits that he was out for a long time. Lyre and Tiamat advise him to rest and contact them if he feels ill. Eventually, he reflects on the reasons for his impossible dominion over demons and notices that someone has forcibly pushed him out of his sleep. Lyre warns Ryu of the consequences of power, but she hopes to escape loneliness by becoming a ruler, after which the streets are filled with the noise of celebration. People are happily walking to the rhythmic beat of drums. 3 characters clink mugs to celebrate their victory over the Dragon of Darkness. When Ryu and Lear walk together, she says that he is now very popular, and he replies that the city is giving him a hard time because of it. He receives the crown, and the king thanks him for helping him defeat the dragon. Then the guy refuses the reward, and the man claims that you can ask for whatever you want and there is no need to be shy. The guy regrets the lack of ideas and asks what he can ask for. The friend replies that he can ask for anything. Ryu then explains that treasures, artifacts, or the right to live in the palace can be a reward. Tiamat apologized for interrupting and suggested a reward idea, and he thought about her words. Meanwhile, she asked if she would be chosen, and Ryu and the others were shocked. He is surprised by the question of marrying the emperor, and the girls are shocked by such an idea, while the 2 adults on the throne do not object. And then Lyre offered to take the dragon as a wife, but Tiamat shyly refused. The guy asked her why she was acting like that, and she said she hadn't said anything like that. Then he asked her if she didn't like it. At the same time, the guy offered Tiamat to take the claws, and she covered her mouth with her hand with a smile, while the girl behind looked surprised. Ryu is surprised by the word claws. The interlocutor explains that dragon claws and scales are used to make strong weapons and armor, offering to strengthen the equipment. Also, Tiamat asks the guy if he wants something else, and he replies that this will do, while the girl turns to her with a smile. She promises to prepare everything. Lyre says that the reward will be dragon claws. Additionally, Ryu shouts, "Ha!" and strikes with his sword, preparing to fight the 2 opponents in the square. Lear asks if he is okay and advises him to rest, but he replies that he wants to keep practicing. Eventually, Tiamat realizes that the dark dragon has not yet recovered, and she needs to become stronger to catch up with the heroes. Noting that UR is watching over him, the girl with long hair asks Ryu to get a towel and water, after which he thanks the girl, and she replies that because of his diligent training she can't help him anymore. One asked the other what was the matter and what he would do when he received the reward. The other answered, embarrassed, that nothing. When the guy said that he wanted to find his friends, the girl replied that, if possible, she wanted that too. Ryu calms the boy down by saying that the emperor will allow them to see the world together if they ask. He then agrees, despite the fact that she is a princess and cannot simply leave the country, and he admits that he really wants to. Lear notes that the decision is wrong, and Vivian agrees to travel. Following this, Ryu reassures the girl that they will go with her, and he agrees that he cannot make a decision alone. He confidently asks to believe in him, promising that they will get permission from someone. Nearby stand Lear and a girl with wings. Meanwhile, Tiamat has learned that the emperor has summoned them. A servant leads them to the throne room and brings them a reward, apologizing for the wait. The image shows 5 rolls in boxes on a plate. And then the guy was surprised by the number, and Lyre explained that Tiamat said about the different effects of the claws, so they prepared several options. The character explains the differences in the claws of earth, air, and water dragons, noting their strength, lightness, and flexibility. At the same time, Lear notes the special goods, and the girl with ears offers to choose any, while everyone carefully examines the counter. Ryu examines the claws. Moreover, the man with long hair praises the sword for its uniqueness and convenience, comparing the eye to a diamond. The boy learned that the claw belonged to Tiamat, and another man reported that the student had chosen the teacher's claw and asked him to stop. In addition, the character raised a finger and announced a new idea. Ryu suggested taking Tiamat with him, after which the three girls reacted with surprise to his idea. She ended up admitting that she had to give up training with him because she had to take care of Lady Oak, and he asked if she enjoyed training with him. Lear asks her to stop joking. The guy with black hair squeezes her hand. After which Ryu smiles, and Sakura looks at him in surprise, clenching her fist. Tiamat saw her father and grandmother suddenly appear before her. She cried out, when she firmly states that she wants to go on a trip with Ryu, if her grandmother doesn't mind. Tiamat admitted that she had been thinking about this for a long time and wanted to see the wonders of the world, and the guy replied that he was not going to give up, even if they were against it. She then asks for permission to go on a trip, and others express concerns that she is still a child and it is too risky. He understands Uka's feelings, but considers her too young and suggests waiting a few years. Tiamat then reports that Uka has defeated the Dragon of Darkness, while the girl behind her believes that she has grown up enough. Lear says he will be with Ryu and claims he is strong enough that there will be no problems. Meanwhile, he believes that she should be let go, and Tiamat agrees, but on one condition. Ryu heeds instructions to protect Uka during the journey to avoid any negative consequences. And then Tiamat demands the protection of the mistress and consent. Liar insists that he is not obliged to agree, and the girl proves that she can protect herself, referring to the past battle. Ryu admitted that he could not promise such a thing, expressing doubt and seriousness. At the same time, Tiamat admits that she cannot guarantee safety during the journey without knowing what might happen. Ryu promises to help the princess not because of her status, but because they are friends. Lear and the girl with the bow listen to him attentively. In addition, Tiamat asks the girl for permission to travel with friends and addresses the interlocutors. The boy confirms that he is the princess's friend, and the woman in the cap asks the emperor if he will let Uka go. In addition, the girl agrees to let Oika go on a trip, and the man says with a smile that he cannot refuse the request of a benefactor. The girl said that she could conquer the world, and the guy supported her, clenching his fist. In the end, Ryu is happy to meet the girl, who thanks him, but sets one condition. Tiamat declares that she will go with them. The girl asks why in surprise, and the boy calls her grandma. After which Lear warns about an international conflict and problems for Mr. Ryu, and she and the girl next to him ask for understanding and think that it will be more fun that way. He asks what's wrong. The guy replies that he's glad to finally be free, but the other man asks him not to say that. When the man asked Ryu to visit the elf village, he reacted with surprise to the request. He asks if he needs help with a matter, and the other man explains that he received a message from the Spirit King of the Elven Forest. The characters then discuss how news of the dragon's death is spreading quickly, and one of them asks to borrow his powers. Two men report that people have started kidnapping elves and ask to catch all the poachers, holding a tied-up girl with ears on the ground. Following this, Liar explains that spirits enslave others, and captured elves are sold as slaves, and asks for help, despite the girl's doubts that she is also a human. Ryu is hesitant because of the opinions of others, but is advised to do so on his own. Meanwhile, Lear says that doing whatever you want is the best part of traveling, and the girl with wings agrees. The guy says he will go to the elf village. The friend is glad that he was asked for help. And then the group decides to go to the south of the big forest where the elf village is. There they will be met by an elder, acting in place of the king of spirits. The two characters reported a fun trip, and the girl with pigtails said in surprise, Uka. At the same time, Tiamat explains that there are many large trees in this part of the forest, and the boy notices that the roots make it difficult to walk. Ryu says that they are approaching the elven village and it will be easier from here, and he replies that he understands and there is not much left. Also, Tiamat asks if everything is okay, and he and Liar answer that they are okay, despite being tired. She encourages them to hurry up and treat it like a workout, and Ryu and she admit that things are tough and difficult. Liar is also surprised that they can't get into the village because of the spirit barrier. He explains that it's normal and admits that it's his first time in this part of the forest. Two characters discuss that there are guardian spirits around the barrier, and if they identify themselves, they will be let in. Finally, Ryu said that they were already close, to which the interlocutor asked in surprise, "What?" He exclaimed when he saw the spirit and asked if he had come to meet them, after which the guy with the ears sits by the tree and tries to attract the attention of the person standing next to him, and in the background 2 people are watching them. Ryu asks what happened, and Lear wonders if he should go after someone. When he hears a voice, she and Tiamat discuss that they have begun to drift away from the village, with Tiamat admitting that she does not know the reason. Lyre and Ryu noticed the dangerous claws approaching. He warned her and tried to dodge. Then a group of large spiders approaches in the forest. Lyre was surprised by the spiders. Tiamat explained that they were forest monsters. Ryu was standing nearby. Following this, the boy watches in surprise as the girl with wings points out the spiders attacking people and asks her father where so many of them come from. Ryu declares that they need to help them. Lear agrees and rushes forward with him. Meanwhile, the boy fights off the insect that reaches for his face, breathing heavily from fear. Ryu battles a giant insect, Lyre and the horned girl attack other enemies, and Tiamat watches from the shadows. And then 2 skeletal fingers, between which someone sighs heavily. Ryu asks if the victim is safe. Lyre says he fainted, and Tiamat confirms there are no serious injuries. At the same time, she looks forward, and behind her, a girl with short hair is trying to open the grate to get out of the trap. Ryu and Lyre discuss the appearance of elves. He also introduced himself and explained that he had come at the request of the Spirit King. One of the girls replied that they could not reward him now and thanked him for his help. Ryu explains that a spirit brought him here, and Lear asks in surprise what kind of spirit it is. Also, someone asked what happened, and another answered that nothing happened. Ryu, Lyre, and Tiamat are standing in the forest. The men panic and say that they were attacked by forest spiders, and one of them tries to figure out what happened. Eventually, he notices that someone ran away without thinking, and those running are shouting that they value their lives and do not want to deal with elves. Ryu examines the emblem on the items and notices that they are all from one large group, and Tiamat says that she has never seen anything like it before. After which, Lear suggested that even nobles could be members of this organization, while the group stood against the backdrop of a gloomy sky and grass. Ryu indicated the need for more information and directed the group to the Spirit King in the village to guide the elves home. The group moved through the forest. As he thinks anxiously about the kidnapping of children, the women discuss how even babies are being kidnapped, mentioning 4 women and 2 children. The girl said that she was almost there, and the guy noted the need to quickly deal with the poachers and protect the elves and spirits. Then someone suggested going through the bushes and said that this was their house, pointing to a village among the big trees. Ryu and Lyre find an elf village. Lyre hugs Ryu and tells her she is glad she is okay. Lyre admits she was worried about being kidnapped. Following this, he thanks the man for saving him, who modestly replies that he simply helped in a difficult moment, and the couple explains that it was he who saved them. Lear tells his grandfather that they have come at the request of the Spirit King, and he is surprised to confirm that it is Lord Ryu in front of him. Meanwhile, the village elder introduced himself and called his granddaughter Helen. The boy was surprised that the elder looked no more than 20. Ryu is surprised that elves are getting old. Lyre invites him to follow him to the King of Spirits. They find themselves in a hall with a gathering of elves. And then the Lord greeted the guest who had arrived at his request, and they began to discuss the strategy for saving their relatives. The boy with black eyes is preparing to break into the houses of nobles, kill slave traders and summon all the elves and spirits to free his brothers. At the same time, Lear shouts that everything is too easy, and the guy asks what is going on. She doubts the joke, the guy doesn't believe it, and the 2 girls resolutely agree to go and kill everyone when he loudly orders them to stop. Besides, Ryu thinks that the plan is too reckless. They should first find out which houses will have elves, and not go straight to the slave traders. The boy insists on urgent action. The man warns that the scouts have not returned, and if the nobles are attacked, they may take revenge on the village. In addition, Lear speaks of the suffering of his fellow humans at the hands of ruthless people, and another man emphasizes that they should not be kept waiting. Ryu watches as a man supports another man from the side. As a result, two men and a girl with ears discuss how the others are in too much of a hurry. One of the men covers his mouth with his hand as if coughing. Liar says that we need to think things through before saving the elves and spirits. After which she warns that without discrimination the elves may die and it will take a lot of time, and Ryu asks to leave this to him, believing that there will be more harm than good. He explains that during the sale he will be able to find out the necessary information and buy some of them out right away, and Lear doubts whether this is too dangerous and asks how much money will be needed. When the guy says that money needs to be earned, he talks about a supply of gold coins and income from selling materials from hunting in the forest. The boy asked Elder Al for information about dangerous monsters in the area. She mentioned the reproduction of forest spiders, but also reminded him of victories over other monsters. The boy calmed down. Ryu then announces the start of a mission to rescue the elves, and the others promise to do their best. Lear asks where everyone was. He apologizes and explains that he wanted to know about them, warning them of potential trouble if they ran away. Following this, Ryu calls the boy the Spirit King and notes his interestingness, courage and kindness despite his role as a mentor, and is confident that he will be able to help their village. The character reflects on the peace between people and spirits against the backdrop of a forest. Meanwhile, the guy offers to sign a contract on the use of the power of spirits, explaining that it can help people, and the girl asks to tell what their advantage is. The man says that people have forgotten about the blessings of the spirits and use them as simple workers, while Liar sits on a bucket next to him. And then the guy asked if people would buy the items. Ryu explained that they could be used in different ways, like for clothing, and now they could go to the principality. A group of elves stand together, looking forward intently. Liar stands out with his long hair and ears. At the same time, she asks for help for their brothers, explaining that his daughter is among those kidnapped. The guy is surprised and asks if it is really his daughter. The character with ears asks to bring his loved ones home. Also, Lear handed the item to the guy, saying, "Take this." The guy replied, "Of course." Ryu was surprised to hear that the letter from the Spirit King was to be given to the ruler of the principality. In addition, he asked to convey something, and Lear promised to try to meet with the addressee, thanking him for it. The boy with the ears recited the blessing of the Spirit King among a group of people under the trees. In the end, Ryu says that the map is not needed, but does not know the details, while the girl asks about the principality of Iruka. Liar believes that this is someone's plan. Tiamat claims that the principality is also blessed by spirits. The girl with the ears asks if elves and spirits are being kidnapped for sale. After which, against the backdrop of the fortress wall, a conversation is heard about the need to obtain information and talk to people after selling spiders to the guild. The image shows a village with rooftops and a castle on a hill. When a character with short dark gray hair and a maid's cap said that he didn't see anything special, another asked if this was the principality of Uruk. The character with short hair noticed that the environment seemed lifeless as others walked forward down the hallway. Ryu then asks to count the money, explaining that he wants to sell it while the maid watches him. He thanks them, and those around him notice a sense of déjà vu as they look at the stacks of items on the table. Following this, the guy reported that the money had been received and called Ryu, who was standing next to Liar and the maid Tiamat. Two guys met after a long time. One of them said that he came to see rare materials. They exchanged smiles and greetings. Meanwhile, Ryu explains that in this country, the ruler is the one who makes a contract with the Spirit King. He is surprised to hear about the ruler's illness. The group discusses how no one has signed the contract and everyone is worried. And then Ryu hides his real goal, answering the other guy's questions about finding missing people and meeting the Spirit King. He asked his interlocutor about slaves and the Dark Guild in the country, and he replied that he had heard a little and knew about the Black Wolves involved in the slave trade. At the same time, Ryu said that he remembered a person associated with the guild, but warned that due to the hero's appearance, it would be difficult to contact him, causing surprise among Liar and the others. The guy says slavers judge by their clothes. The other agrees. Moreover, one of them says that he can't help anymore, and the other thanks him and receives advice to go to expensive clothes. Tiamat asks if everything will be okay and walks away down a street of houses. In addition, Lear asks them to behave like aristocrats and watch their words, and Cordelia replies that it is inconvenient, but it suits her very well. Ryu stands in the center. Next to him a girl with ears is smiling, Tiamat with a fan is watching, and a little girl with pigtails is looking away. In the end, the guy claims that he is the father, the woman is his wife, and the two girls are their daughters Karen and Uka. The boy turns to Lear and asks why he has to be an animal. After which the guy explains that it is difficult to disguise oneself as a human because of the tail and ears. They decide to go to the slave trader. In front of a large house, a girl with short black hair and bangs is kneeling, holding a bouquet of flowers. When the man in the top hat mentions that his friend Mac recommended the place, the other man kindly asks if it's his first time there. The man in the hat answers the question about the slave's preferences, and the woman with the fan says that the slave must do good housework and be attractive. The man in the suit then invited two young men to follow him to show him all the goods available. The guy in the hat asked the man how many slaves he had. The man replied that he had many. After that, they went down the stairs with the girl in the maid. Following this, the guy asks for silence, and the girl insists that the situation is disgusting, while the man talks about the debtor and the former gnome adventurer, assuring that everyone will be happy. The guy asked his interlocutor about the half-humans. He replied that he could show them to him if he was interested. Meanwhile, the man asks about the animal races that the client is interested in, and the girl in the hat and the guy discuss how they have begun to be suspected. The guy in the hat is surprised by the man with the bow tie's remark about the absence of elves. And then the man explains that elves are a very valuable commodity and are only put up for auction while the others listen to him in the room. The guy in the hat said that there were no other traders, and the woman noted that selling at auctions was more profitable. At the same time, Ryu reflects on the difficulties of auctions, where the one with the most money wins, and considers the situation bad. The guy asks to tell about the elves in exchange for a gift, but the other one regrets and refuses to reveal information about the location of the auction. Moreover, the guy asks to keep the information confidential while the other one carefully studies the documents. The guy with the hat ponders the many captives and the need for caution. The notes mention a dark guild and captured elves. He also noticed an elf in the photograph and asked if she had grown a Solon, to which the man replied that she had a keen eye. Lear tells the man that the village elder is asking him to save his daughter, who will be sold at auction in 3 days. As a result, there is little time left before the auction, and they should hurry. The girl notices that two people have the same last name, and one of them is the elder's daughter. Ryu learned that in the Dark Guild, every elf is considered an accompanying spirit. After which the two men discuss the ruler's illness and the need to make a contract with the spirit, for which an elf is needed. The man asks for help, explaining that spirits are usually near elves, and their brothers and sisters suffer, and the girl replies that she understands. When Ryu believes that his father is angry and out for blood, another man calls it nonsense while two girls watch them. The man asked if he could find out who was behind this and offered to help, but the man in the hat refused, saying that this was enough. Then the man thanks for the information and says that it is time to go, and the interlocutor promises to definitely buy a slave next time and looks forward to the next visit. 3 characters stand at the porch of a building. One of them says that they need to move on, and the other agrees with this decision. Following this, Lyre is surprised that elves are being kidnapped for money, and the girl replies that it is terrible, after which the guy confirms that he is fine. She confidently states that they will save all elves, and Ryu agrees that one cannot look at other races as objects. Meanwhile, the group discusses the need to find out where the prisoners are being held and decides to change clothes to blend in, hiding the old ones nearby. Ryu says that he needs to ask more questions, opening the lid of the vessel, and his interlocutor reacts with embarrassment. And then the guy timidly said hello, looking out of the pipe and smiling. A girl with ears and a hat holds the hem of her dress. A guy in a hat and an animal look at her. At the same time, the girl with the ears timidly said hello, while in the background a guy and 2 girls in dresses are busy getting ready. Ryu opened the lid of the cauldron and saw a girl inside. The guy also apologized and explained that he didn't want to intrude on the child's home, and the other guy asked him what he was doing. The girl states that she is 19 years old and is an informant from the Land of Light. The guy is surprised that this is his house and asks where she is from. In addition, Ryu explained that priests are trained here, and Tiamat asked about the Land of Light where the church plays an important role. He explains that she is a member of the heroes group and is doing reconnaissance. He wonders if she knows Tia. She replies that she has come to serve their hero. Eventually, the guy asks the girl for help, and she asks in surprise what exactly he means. Ryu explains that the country is thriving with slave trade, and they dressed up as rich people to infiltrate the slave trader, and the guy is surprised that they have the same goal. After which he offers help and asks to free the slaves in exchange for useful information. Ryu asks why they were chosen. The girl replies that she can obtain information, but not fight, and admits to excessive spirit hunting. When the boy explains that humans use elemental magic thanks to the help of spirits, having made a contract with the Spirit King who granted them magic. Ryu analyzes the risks of losing his powers and magic, as well as the possibility of breaking the contract after fighting monsters. He then resolutely asks for help with the mission, promising to repay, and Lear and the boy agree, despite doubts due to the hero's hatred of monsters. Ryu offers to discuss the situation, but thinks it's best to stay away from the hero. However, the information will be useful to them. Tiamat then suggested that they act separately from the hero in order to avoid his attention, and everyone agreed with this decision. Ryu agreed to help in exchange for information, and the girl promised to contact the squad. Meanwhile, he explains that it is a magical artifact that works as their connection, and Lear wonders what the girl across from him is doing. Ryu suggests going, and the girl with short hair says that she got permission and invites them to talk in her room. And then he was surprised by the fall of the girl, who joyfully reported her return to the captain, and Lyre and Tiamat followed her. Burr introduced himself and said that he was in charge of the squad while the captain was away, and Ryu named Lyra, Karen, and her. At the same time, the character suggests getting straight to the point and asks to tell the details that he heard from Alice. Several people are discussing that the ruler is sick and the next one will be the one who signs the contract with the Spirit King. In addition, Ryu and Lyre are alarmed by the man's words about the alleged poisoning of the ruler. He is depicted in a serious condition in the rain. The guy asked who could do this, and the other guy replied that it was hard to say, but anyone who signed the contract would become the ruler. Additionally, the character confirmed that anyone can do it by showing a miniature chair with a crown. Lord Lade reports that his men have entered the castle and learned that the ruler was poisoned by the minister. Eventually, the character with the curls on his head convinces his confidants of the importance of his connections with the rulers, promising generous rewards and titles to attract new allies. The girl with short hair says that spirits have a hard time surviving in an unsuitable environment and can die if mistreated. Another asks what about spirits and learns that they are forced to sign a contract. After which one of the group members agrees with the issues being discussed. Ryu suggests contacting the ruler's remaining confidants, but his interlocutor objects that this will not work and adds that more knights are needed. As one character explains the need to break in and defeat everyone, another explains that the minister fired and kicked out everyone who did not support him, leaving only his supporters in the palace. The guy said they could gather information but they couldn't fight. The other guy suggested removing the minister and solving the problems themselves. Ryu then discusses with the others the possibility of making a contract with the Spirit King, considering the age of the heir and the mercenaries. He reflects that even if he manages to sign the contract, no one guarantees his safety. They may try to get rid of him, noticing that he is under house arrest. Following this, Tiamat warns that after signing the contract, Lord Leia will kill him, and the guy agrees that he can try to regain the throne. Lear denies her readiness to kill the boy and accuses him of lust for power. The boy tries to calm her down and stop her. Meanwhile, Tiamat agrees with someone, and the guy with black hair and the girl with ears turn their attention to the door and call out to Uka. Lear explained that emotions could harm the prince, while Ryu suggested starting with developing a plan. And then Tiamat turns her back to them, smiles and agrees that everything is fine. She warns that there is no time to delay, and the guy explains to the girl that the auction is in 3 days and there is very little time to think. At the same time, the guy asked if they had come to the city to save the elves and spirits. The boy laughs, and the other two discuss how the nobles are trying to make a contract with the spirits through a dark guild, and regret that they don't know enough about it. Ryu also remembered and told them that it was a slave trader guild called the Black Wolves, causing others to react in surprise. The two discuss a plan to split up and find a place. One worries about how to deal with the bandits, and the other says there won't be enough time to call for backup. Besides, the boy complained about the problems at the most crucial moment. Ryu thought that asking the king for help was useless, since such a story was hard to believe. The characters discuss a difficult situation. One offers to help and promises to come up with a solution, warning that without action the problems will only get worse. In the end, Ryu stands in the center with a serious expression, and around her are Lyre, Tiamat, and two other girls, creating an atmosphere of determination and unity. He confidently stated that their group of adventurers would deal with the bandits and ask them to leave the enemies to them. After which the character reports the presence of a letter from the Spirit King for the ruler. The group is surprised by a letter from the Spirit King. Ryu demands an explanation of its origin. When he explained that they had received a request for help from the elves from the Spirit King, the guy said that you shouldn't read other people's letters without permission. The man noted that if it was true, it would solve many problems. The other added that he couldn't believe it. Ryu then believes that breaking the contract with the spirits will lead to late corrections, while another person suggests checking the contents. The boy asks the King of Spirits to forgive him and find out the contents of the letter. The king replies that he will open it. Following this, Ryu and the other two discuss the contents of the document with serious faces. He asks the other if he remembers their conversation and reminds him that he promised that people and spirits would one day be able to coexist in peace. Meanwhile, Ryu listens to a man talking about a distant world and reminding them of their oath to support each other despite the disdain of others. The hero declares that he will not blame his interlocutor, despite the change in his point of view, and remains hopeful for a bright future together. And then the guy with short blonde hair instructs Ryu to deliver a letter to the Spirit King, assuring him that he will believe them, and Ryu agrees to take on the task with full responsibility. They discuss a plan to save the king, eliminate the rebellious nobles, and deal with the Dark Guild. At the same time, Ryu and Lyre regret not meeting earlier, and he claims that they could have defeated the Black Wolf Guild long ago. The guy announces the performance and orders to get ready. Besides, Lyre promised to give it her all, and Ariel replied that she would do her best, calling her little sister. Tiamat warns to be careful, the girl agrees. Also, in the tavern, a man loudly asks for more drinks and hurries the staff while the last team under the moon is visible on the street. Two men discuss a lot of work and money, raising their mugs and proposing to drink to generosity. In the end, the crowd offers to earn a mountain of gold by recognizing their skills, and the guy with black hair looks at the house and laughs. Ryu confirmed that they were there while the girl next to him looked worried as she sat on the roof under the full moon. After which the guy holds the meowing cat in his arms, and below the two discuss the amazing feeling in a quiet city alley. Ryu looks at the city from the roof and feels like a spy. The guy is indignant, but Ryu claims that he is just an observer. When the black-haired boy asks the captain about his fighting skills, the girl dreams of his presence, while his secret assassinations are mentioned off-screen. Ryu reported that demon and monster activity has increased. The captain helps the hero and decided to check the recent monster attacks on people. He then asks if Tiamat really hates monsters that much, to which Lyre replies that it is her job. She is surprised that the girl is able to fight demons and is going to defeat the demon lord, and he notes that she is doing very well for her age. Following this, the girl admitted that she admired the hero and dreamed of becoming like him, and the guy chuckled, saying that this was probably an impossible dream. A boy asks if he should become like a hero, looking at a figure in armor with a sword. Meanwhile, the guy asked Alice if she thought all monsters were evil. She said that she probably did because they were constantly harming people. The guy agreed with her. Ryu says something is interesting, and the other person asks what it is. And then the girl asked if he understood correctly that Lyre and the others were monsters, causing him to be surprised. The girl admitted that she was afraid at first, but then she became convinced after seeing Liz's transformation, and the guy confirmed that he had guessed about it. At the same time, Ryu realized his tendency to trust by observing the gaze and communication with others. He questions the evil of monsters, calling Alice kind despite her protests not to treat her like a child. In addition, the guy warns that the attack will begin in a minute, and asks everyone to be more serious and ready for the operation. Lear and the girl with short hair confirmed their readiness. In addition, the tavern is noisy, with patrons drinking and chatting, and a waitress moving between tables with a tray. The two men discuss the promised reward and assure that they will not disappoint, handing over a bag of loot. As a result, the tavern discusses the new worker and the conditions for catching elves and spirits, promising to do any work for good pay. Tiamat hits the man. Liar and the winged girl watch. The others are shocked, after which they enter a room where people in panic ask who they are and what is happening. Lear is surrounded by armed men who warn her of the risks and demand that she remain calm. When she hit the table, the girl with the ears reported that everything was sorted, and Tiamat sighed heavily. The two men hand over the artifacts to Ryu and Liar, explaining that they have found the location of two guilds, but the Black Wolves are better at hiding than the others. He then said, and she and Tiamat discussed, that without information about the location, the plan would fail. Ryu questions the trust in dark guilds, and the other man suggests using them, to which he replies that of course not. He then explains the need to let one person go after destroying two guilds. The others agree with this idea and discuss a plan of action. Ryu saves Liar, who does not want to die, and they run through narrow streets, trying to find a way out of a possible dead end. Meanwhile, the guy with short black hair hid in a secret passage, and the man in a tuxedo cautiously approached the wall. The two walked together, discussing why they couldn't find anyone and that it was a clever idea. And then Ryu warns Alice to wait for him here until the end of the battle and promises to let her know if anything happens. After that, he cautiously enters the room, where people react with caution. Several men with knives threaten a stranger, demanding to know who he is and saying that he does not belong here. At the same time, Ryu orders the intruder to be killed, and the man begs for help, explaining that a woman and a child broke into the tavern and they are not friends. The Black Wolves Guildmaster Kokuga states that they don't care about the fate of the other, and the servant is disturbed by the noise and promises to pay. Also, the guy in the cloak stands among the defeated opponents, and another man orders them to shut up and is surprised by what is happening. Ryu asked the man who greeted him rudely if he was the guild leader and stated that he had come to destroy it. In addition, the guy with short black hair resolutely repels the attack of another man, who says with a smile that in that case, Ryu asks Liar if she wants to know the reason for the guild's destruction. Liar doubts that she can handle it alone, confirming the nobleman's words. As a result, the guy with the sword moves chaotically, parrying every blow, feeling like he is fighting a wild beast. Ryu refuses to side with the enemy who offers an alliance and warns not to trifle with him, after which he refuses to go over to the opponent's side, condemning the sale of elves and spirits as slaves, and the latter expresses bewilderment. The scarred boy denies participating in the slave auction and claims that he would never do such a thing to them. When a man in the audience laughs and says he didn't expect such responsiveness from the youth, another asks what that means. The man claims that elves cannot influence spirits and denies the slavery of elves and spirits, suggesting to ask them personally. Then a group of elves stand together with worried expressions, clearly expecting or reacting to an important event. Lear claims that the chief cares about them and is a kind person, and the man is surprised that everyone is alive and well. The man then explained that they were actively buying elves to recruit into the guild because of their magical abilities. He also mentioned that he received generous fees from aristocrats for capturing elves. Ryu doubts the kidnapping, but Tiamat claims that she always gave them a choice, directing them to the guild without understanding the situation. Meanwhile, the scarred guy admitted his complicity. He hadn't expected that the elves were going to be used for a power struggle. The other one expressed regret and joy that everything had been resolved. The guy decided to let everyone go. The girl with the ears admitted that she was the daughter of the village elder, And then Ryu is glad that he found her. And the other man accuses him of disobeying the orders of the aristocrats and doubts that he will get away with it. The guy hit another guy lying on the floor and said that a coward has no right to vote. He demanded to know how he became so strong. At the same time, the guy said that he had seen many guys and that this was the first time he had encountered something like this, explaining that he simply lived in a great forest. Ryu is surprised that where he lived it is impossible for an ordinary person to survive, and decides to go to the great forest, despite warnings of mortal danger. Also, the black-haired guy listens to the other man say that he is leaving the elves in his charge. Ryu accepts a challenge from a man to become stronger. A group of people escape and he calls them a disaster. In addition, the guy says that the elves are safe and promises to contact everyone, and the interlocutor replies that he will tell everyone now. Two people came to the king. One of them said that he was too weak and no longer capable, and the girl asked the captain if everything was all right. In the end, a guy with long hair smiles, holding a small lyre in his palm, and below, a figure in a cloak stands with his back to the viewer next to a flying butterfly. The two discuss how the king is too weak to read the letter from the Spirit King while someone is lying in bed. After which Ryu says that first we need to take care of the elves, and the other man replies that they have already sent for a doctor and suggests going to them. He thinks the attack is in order, but his interlocutor claims that the main thing now is the king. When Lear explains the need to go, he asks them not to worry and to run quickly, assuring them that they will be able to fight back and advises them to wait for another command. She thanks him for saving her. Ryu agrees and quickly leaves. He then asks if the king is okay, and Lear replies that a doctor has been sent for him, and if the king dies, it will be difficult to establish relations with the spirits. The king believes that laid on the throne is the worst option, and another interlocutor warns that the attack will cause conflicts and lead to executions. Ryu then explained that the king's absence would cause chaos and offered to heal him and talk to the Spirit King, after which they hurried, realizing that time was short. He and the girl are hiding in the bushes near the castle, discussing that there are guards ahead. The passage leads to the royal chambers when they are noticed and called. Meanwhile, Lear noticed that the girl was lying in bed, and the man was leaning over her, while the others watched from afar. Ryu asked about the king's condition. The man replied that everything was very bad, and he did not know any spells that could help due to the long-term penetration of the poison into the body. And then the guy with black hair asked in surprise what had happened, and the other one regretted that the king could no longer be saved, regretting that they had come too late. The boy asked Burr to borrow a letter from the Spirit King. At the same time, the guy explains to another that he promised to deliver the scroll to the king, despite the fact that he will not be able to read it, and the girl with ears watches the conversation. The bundle breaks with a loud sound. In addition, Ryu saw that the letters contained magical formulas, causing someone to suddenly fly up. He remembers that the spirit accompanied them in the forest, and the stranger thanks him for fulfilling his request and apologizes for the late introduction. In addition, Lear introduced himself as the Spirit King and mentioned the one who had made a contract with the ruler of the Principality of Uruk. Ryu asks if he is the king. She reassures him and reflects on the struggle for power and keeping a promise. He ended up apologizing, and the man noted that he had hardly changed. He regrets that he did not come earlier to save someone and prevent a threat to the peace between people and spirits. The king will not be able to read the delivered letter. After which Ryu admitted that he could not help, but the interlocutor with the crown assured him that he had already helped a lot by defeating the Dragon of Darkness and delivering the letter. The guy admitted that he entrusted the letter because of the fairness of the interlocutor, who saved the elves, which he could not do. When Lyre thanked Ryu for fulfilling his request and allowing him to meet his old friend, Tiamat asked what they should do now. He says there are no options and demands that the case be handed over to him. He replies that they should simply observe, without asking questions about their intentions. She then cast the holy light spell, pointing her hand at the bed. The boy noticed the improvement in the king's complexion and exclaimed that it was the king of spirits, and the girl silently watched what was happening. Following this, the boy explained to Tiamat that he had swallowed poison and was connected to the great forest, so his roots would help remove the poison, and she expressed concern for his condition. The boy admitted to having too much magic, almost falling over. The other was surprised by her abilities, but noted the limitations. Meanwhile, the king explained that the aristocrats were trying to overthrow him from the throne, and that was why he had come, and the girl was surprised by his appearance. The boy admitted his disappointment, and the man with long hair regretted that he could not fulfill his promise while the other person remained silent. And then Lear asks if he considered him a friend. The interlocutor replies that he is not worthy of the title of king and such a king is not needed. The man with long hair says that they need to try harder, and the girl with the crown replies that the two of them know all together. At the same time, Ryu called on everyone, spirits, elves and humans, to work together to find and punish the culprit, suggesting that everyone try together. Lear asks why give up on a dream. The man with a mustache laughs and agrees. Besides, people laughed at the guy's ideals, considering them nonsense, since they had not seen it with their own eyes. The crowd is surprised by the king, who has come out on the balcony despite his illness. One of the servants admits that he does not understand how this happened. In addition, the guy was called a strong young man, and the man agreed that he could be trusted with his dreams. The black-haired boy is surprised by the magic, while the other one suggests that someone wants to make a statement to the people of the Uruk Principality. As a result, the character with long ears declares a ban on forcing spirits and elves into contracts and hunting elves, warning of the death penalty for traitors. The guy praised him for his work, and Lear warned him to report any offenders to the royal guard. After which the man asked how he was doing, and she replied that this was their first small step and that everything would get better with time. He promised to help and offered to create the world of their dreams. The interlocutor agreed, noting that this was the first step towards fulfilling their dream. When Lear thanks him for his help, Ryu replies that there is no need to worry as long as there is lively conversation going on and prisoners are being freed. The guy was surprised when he was offered a contract, although he replied that he didn't want anything as a reward. Ryu then refuses to become king. The interlocutor explains that the contract will ensure a permanent connection with the Great Spirit King. Liar offers to enhance his body with a spell as a reward, and he agrees. Following this, the girl looks at the image of an embryo in an oval frame. The guy asked what was going on. The girl was surprised why there was a dark dragon inside him. He replied that it was a very long story with a dragon and a demon. Meanwhile, Ryu ended the conversation and offered to stay in touch. The interlocutor thanked him and promised not to press him about the contract. Tiamat asked him what he was going to do, and then suggested going to the land of the dwarves. He replied that he had not even thought about it. And then Ryu explains that after the battle the equipment was damaged, and suggests first going to the principality, and then going to the dwarves to create weapons from claws. Liar asked what they needed, and Tiamat replied that they definitely needed to buy more food. At the same time, she reflects on the man who was able to defeat the dark dragon, and Ryu is glad that he turned out to be kind, and the others note that if he was greedy for power, the world would have suffered. He says that the path to the land of the gnomes is long and dangerous, and the girl with ears dreams of flying on her grandmother, but the guy replies that this is impossible. Besides, the guy asked where Tiamat was. The girl replied that her grandmother had gone to negotiate with the merchants, and he suggested waiting here. The boy said that no one wanted to go on a dangerous journey and they couldn't find a carriage. The girl wondered why they hadn't left yet. Additionally, Ryu reports that the reconnaissance squad has successfully completed the task of exterminating the elves and is preparing for the next mission. The girl reports that the hero is looking for his missing friend and decided to involve them. Ryu ends up asking if Taiga is missing and is told that nothing happened. The guy explains that his missing friend's name is He, and the girl with ears is surprised to hear that his name is also He. After which the guy clarifies that they lived in the same city, were childhood friends, and suggests that Ryu must have the profession of a mentor, since they are the same age. He realized that Liz had kidnapped him and was surprised to see his missing person report. When Ryu warns that it will be bad to date Tia because she is traveling with a group of monsters, Tiamat believes that she must not be allowed to learn the truth, and Liar and he sheepishly justify themselves by saying that they simply have similar names and that the mentor cannot have so much power. Ryu then asks permission to go along, offering to help get more information, and Lin admits that he doesn't know where to start. He was surprised to hear that Tiamat was nearby, and she decided to expand the hero's search area. After this, Ryu thanked her for waiting, and the girl thought about how to leave without a carriage, noting the need to leave here as soon as possible. Tiamat reported that she had found transport. The merchants agreed to take them on the condition of protection. The boy reacted with surprise to this news. Meanwhile, Ryu encourages them by saying that they are leaving faster and warns them about a small carriage they will have to wait for. The boy asked if he could take one more person. The girl in the maid's cap replied that they could take up to 10 people. And then the character with short hair thanks, and the other agrees to take Alice with him on one condition. The guy forbids the girl to reveal the destination. She asks why. Meanwhile, Liar explains that they are monsters. Tiamat asks for help, and Ryu is surprised when a new person named Mac joins them. She was asked if she knew Mac. She said it was a long story. The guy said he had recently managed to earn enough money to buy a carriage and a cart. In addition, the guy emphasizes the importance of logistics for traders, while the girl points out the discontent of the horses. The guy noticed the space. The other ordered him to sit down, saying that they were leaving soon. In addition, the guy apologized to Tiamat and said that at the moment they cannot meet, but he will definitely contact her when the right moment comes. They are riding in a cart along the road, and one of them notices that the other has no cargo at all. In the end, the guy decided to return home, and Ryu admitted that he was glad to accompany him, despite the lack of money for guards after buying the carriage. He suggested stopping for a rest, as the boys were tired. The boys thanked him for helping with the cart and agreed to help him. After which Lear thinks that it would be better for everyone to have a good rest while the others lie tired in the back of the cart. Tiamat is asked if she is okay, and the boy replies that he has already ridden in carts and will soon make a stop, thinking that the children are riding in a cart for the first time and are not feeling well. When the two girls announce that they are going to play and explore the forest, several people are seen in the background near a cart. The girl with the ears asks not to go far, and the other agrees, while the guy and the maid watch them in the forest. Then Liar is surprised by the strength in them. Ryu is glad that they now have a chance to have fun, and the guy remembers their battles with the Dark Dragon and the elves. Tiamat thanks Uka for taking her on her journey, and Uka reciprocates her gratitude. Following this, Ryu listens attentively to the explanation of magic and dragon claws, noting their lack of experience beyond what normal training can provide. The two walk ahead, and Tiamat says that without their appearance, Uka would not have been allowed to travel, and then she would have been just a stupid child. Meanwhile, she thanked Ryu for helping her gain a unique life experience. He said, "If so," and Tiamat watched as Liar fell to the floor. And then the guy asks what happened to the girls who are shaking and stuttering, and from the forest someone asks to forgive and listen to him. A guy stands in the forest with 2 large fish and a towel. Another figure watches him. At the same time, the guy claims that he is normal, and the other one with a sword orders him to leave, calling him a pervert and surprised by his presence. The guy greets Alice and asks how she's been. The girl demands that he get dressed first. Also, someone is laughing and asking for forgiveness against the backdrop of the sky and trees. The boy decided to take a swim without expecting anyone nearby. Ryu reminded him that he was the captain of the reconnaissance squad. He also introduced himself as a traveler, and Jen as the captain of a reconnaissance squad. Jen was surprised by Captain Alice's kindness. The man asked if he was the guy the hero was looking for, and the girl explained that he was the one who helped them with the problem of hunting elves, and the guy just had a similar name. In the end, the man thanks Ryu for helping with his subordinates and asks how old he is. He replied that he was 17 when asked why it was necessary. After which the guy with short blonde hair praises Ryu for his skills and invites him to join the reconnaissance squad, and he embarrassedly thinks that he didn't guess. The guy asked to join the group, explaining that he had already surveyed the area and would be able to cover a larger area with Alice. When Ryu expressed doubts, Lear agreed, and the guy in the hat noted that the more people, the safer the trip. The character warned that the journey would take about a week and suggested that they pack up after a rest. Ryu then thanks him for his help, and the man says that he can't walk him any further, while the two girls discuss how one of them didn't notice that the other one's whole body hurts. Two characters discuss breaking up with Alice and ask if she will go into town. Following this, the guy expressed a desire to chat with the locals, to which the girl noted that they came from different places and could tell a lot of interesting things. Ryu suggests going to the king. Liar reminds about the need for cards. Tiamat turns to Ryu. Meanwhile, the boy recognized the merchant and expressed his desire to meet the king. The merchant asked what prompted him to come. He assures his interlocutor that the king has already given instructions and that when meeting Ryu, he should immediately be taken to him. And then two elderly men with beards greet the returnee and say that they are glad to see him. Ryu asked his interlocutor how he was doing, and he replied that everything was fine. At the same time, the boy promised to bring something interesting, answering the king, who expressed hope for this. The boy saw the dragon's claw and recognized it as the claw of a fire dragon. The king of the gnomes confirmed that it was his claw. Tiamat also introduced herself and said that she could be known as the Heavenly Queen. Two old men ask their interlocutor if she is the Queen of Dragons after seeing the Queen's claw. Tiamat also asks if it would be possible to create a weapon from her claw. The man replies that it is possible with the appropriate flame, and with her flame there will be no problem. The king suggested that Ryu and his friends take a rest in the castle. Ryu replied that he would start working and was surprised that he was constantly surrounded by amazing people. Eventually the boy thanks and says goodbye when a knight runs in to tell the king about the problem, and the monarch asks what happened. The girl stretches her hand forward, trying to stop the running people, and one of them exclaims, "He!" After which she asked Ryu why he was here, and he expressed confusion. He realizes that he has been exposed, and the stranger seriously states that he has finally found him, putting tension on the group. When a girl demands an explanation, the guy remains silent for fear of angering her. The boy asks Tiamat not to draw her sword in the king's presence. She angrily demands an explanation, to which he advises her to calm down. The boy then asked Ryu, wondering why he had disappeared, and suggested that he might have had to leave due to some events. He understands that it is useless to hide the truth and decides to tell it. Following this, the boy confesses that he trained in the great forest, fearing that she would get angry. The boy was surprised to hear about the great forest, and the girl looked at him silently and anxiously. Meanwhile, Ryu explains that he was dragged away by Fenrir. The boy says that now is not the time for jokes. He panics as he realizes what he heard, while the girl and the old man react calmly. He convinces his interlocutor that he is right, despite his doubts. And then the guy convinces Tiamat that the guys are reliable, but she doubts it. Below, a group of people are watching them tensely. Ryu asks to wait, and a threatening warning is heard in the background. At the same time, he hugs a girl with long hair who covers her face. Ryu hugs Lear. She cries and says she was afraid of losing him, but is glad he is okay. He also consoles the girl by saying that he would never die and gently places his hand on her head. The guy says he became stronger to catch up with the guys, and the girl calls him Ryu. He also admitted that he was still far from his interlocutor's level, to which he replied, "Then." The girl with long hair suggested going home, and the guy with short black hair agreed. In the end, the guy with black hair was surprised, and the girl promised to save everyone and asked if he agreed. The guy asked to wait, explaining that he was already traveling with friends, and the interlocutor replied that he couldn't just leave them. Ryu then warns of the dangers of battle, but Liar and the others insist on the need to act despite his words. The girl told the guy that his profession was not suitable for fighting, and that he was just lucky, and she did not trust monsters. When Lear demands that his feelings and abilities not be ignored, Ryu responds that it is all for the sake of saving him. He said, "Well, well," and watched as the two argued and shouted at each other. Then the guy ponders the reasons for the damage. Lear is surprised by Ryu's curses, and the girl notes his calmness in the Empire. He says that he and Taiga often fought about him eating her pudding, but they quickly made up. Taiga adds that they have been friends since childhood. Lear then explains that he thinks this is how feelings are expressed, and Ryu listens and begins to understand. He calms the girl with the ears, saying that they will quarrel now and then make up, and she agrees. Meanwhile, the girl challenged the guy to a fight to prove that he had become stronger. The winner would continue the journey, and the loser would go home. Ryu offers to acknowledge Liar and the others if he wins, and the maid with bangs agrees, claiming that it is impossible to defeat him. And then he interrupts the argument between the two men, demanding a timeout and warning him not to make excuses when he loses to her. Ryu reminds the group about crossing the line. The others advise her to calm down. At the same time, the man said that everyone was tired after a long journey, and prepared rooms for them, and then asked them to have a good rest and not to quarrel. Ryu covered his face with his hands and admitted that he was not okay. The girl asked if he was okay. In addition, Tiamat warns of possible problems in the battle with the hero, but assures that a solution will be found. He also admits that the situation is extremely unfavorable. Ryu says he worked hard to be there for them and wonders why it all came to this, while Lear listens in silence. In addition, she believes that a lot has happened and needs to be thought through, hoping for a quick reconciliation between the hero and him. Ryu recalls the argument with the girl, while Lear silently watches him from behind. She eventually asked to come in and talk, and the other girl was surprised, reminding him that she had been with him. Liar was surprised by the attack and asked about it. The monster explained that it does not attack for no reason and asked for a favor, after which she directly asked if her interlocutor could make peace with Ryu. Lear blames her for everything, and he explains that without their meeting, that man would have lived peacefully in the city. When she asks why they chose Ryu, she replies that it was simple. Lear confesses her sympathy, and he replies that he likes her. She then reveals that other people ran away when they saw him, but Ryu wasn't afraid and saved him. The girl demanded that he be released, and Lear said that even monsters are capable of experiencing emotions and cannot help but please her savior. Following this, she confessed that she had always thought about him and almost went crazy when she learned of his disappearance or possible death. She said that she found many corpses torn apart by monsters and prayed for Ryu, but did not feel relief when she met him. Meanwhile, Lear says that he will never understand her feelings, and Cordelia responds with surprise. A girl with long hair asks her if she is in love with him, and then Lear is surprised and confused when the guy insists that they are just childhood friends, and she asks him to stop. She is confident that they will get along, and the girl replies that she is not as kind to monsters as Ryu. At the same time, Lear declares that he will take him for himself, and the girl is surprised and says that they are just childhood friends. But Lear insists that they will live together in the Great Forest. Tiamat states that after winning the battle she will deal with her interlocutor. Besides, Lear doubts whether it is worth annoying Ryu so much, but he decides not to leave her, and the girl prepares for action. She asks what to do, explaining that she wanted them to make up, and the guy notices that she doesn't want to talk to him anymore. In addition, Lear asked if she was with Ryu, and clarified whether he was a friend of the hero. She asked him if he wanted him and the hero to make peace. He replied that of course he wanted them to make peace. As a result, the guy asks for help from his smiling interlocutor. Ryu wonders why he is here. Liar suddenly wants to spend time together, and he tries to figure out what happened to her. After which he is surprised that the walk is planned for tomorrow, and she suggests inviting Karen, since they haven't walked together for a long time. Lear admits that she has long wanted to know what a date is and asks Ryu to help her with it. Ryu thinks that she is awkward in the castle, but wants to feel better. When the guy suggested a snack, the other guy sheepishly replied, Ryu smiles and says that she is late, and he replies that he also just arrived. Then she said something thoughtfully, looking ahead. Ryu asks why she is here. The girl expresses confusion and asks why he is here. Following this, the girl asked him why he was there, and he expressed surprise. The guy said he was going to meet Lear, and the girl announced that she had agreed to go shopping with Taiga while they were peeking around the corner. Meanwhile, Ryu and she claim that they were set up. Lear and he peer out from behind the door, and one of them feels goosebumps on his skin. And then the two stand with their backs to each other, expressing determination and tension. The guy said they had a fight yesterday and butting heads would only make things worse. The girl agreed there was no progress and that was no surprise. At the same time, The girl with long hair hopes that they won't start arguing again, and the guy stands next to her, listening to her thoughts. The girl, in a panic, cannot look normally towards Ryu, who is standing next to her and not paying attention to her. Besides, Lear asked if she liked him, and he replied that someone had said something stupid. He was surprised by his facial expression when they met. The guy said that she and Taiga would not come, there was no point in going to the castle. The girl was surprised and asked where he was going. Besides, the guy with long hair said that there was no point in the two of them staying here. She believes that retreat will lead to a long silence, while he leaves, reminding her of the quarrel. Finally, Ryu clenches his fist and tries to get Lear's attention. At first, Lear doesn't react, and then he gently touches his shoulder. She nudges the guy, and the girl with short hair asks him not to push her and says that it's time to talk to him. After which Lear thinks that she doesn't want to see him, but could do something right away, and the guy wonders what the girl is doing. The guy admits that he went too far, reflects on the unpleasantness of being the first to apologize, and decides to stay away to avoid being asked to come home. When Ryu asked what Tiamat thought about yesterday, he notices that the girl asks to let her in, but she replies that she doesn't want to get involved with them, and the two men offer to have fun together, which causes concern among the others. Lear then asks why the heroine can't do harm, and the guy explains that if she hurts an ordinary person, rumors will spread quickly and travel will become more difficult. She helps the guy when he stumbles, and the girl with the ears understands the difficulties of being a celebrity. The guy explains that problems arise without support. Following this, the guy firmly squeezes the other person's hand. Ryu defended the girl by warning the man not to touch her childhood friend. In the meantime, he said, "Let go." The guy asked who was in front of him. The girl looked back in surprise. And then the guy said that it was none of his business, and the other one replied that he shouldn't interfere, because they didn't even know each other. The guy demanded not to interfere and kicked his interlocutor out. At the same time, the hand firmly squeezes the wrist of the other hand. The guy is surprised by the strength of the other one, who does not move and demands to let him go, and the girl promises to let him go if he lets her go. In addition, Ryu challenged a man to a fight, who asked doubtfully if he really wanted to fight. He watches people leaving, and passersby complain about his bad mood and ask him to leave. Ryu also warns the girl not to make noise so that others don't get hurt. The girl thanks him and asks him to listen to her. The girl admitted that she was thinking only about herself, and the guy expressed a desire to talk again. In the end, the guy admitted his guilt for being rude, and the girl with the ears agreed that it was okay not right now, but he insisted. The guy notices that the girl looks modest. She admits her mistake, tries to hit him, but he apologizes. After which Ryu smiles and says that she likes it better when she is a little cheeky, and the girl angrily calls him a fool in response, but admits that she feels calmer. The guy asked the girl if they had made up. The girl replied that now they would be able to talk normally. As Ryu frowns in displeasure, the boy smiles next to her. Lear asks the girl about her feelings. Then the men notice the observers. One of them expresses displeasure. She then complains that it was an accident, while Ryu thinks that everything ended well, and she calls peeping disgusting. Two guys discuss that if one of their methods destroyed everything, he asks them to stop, and then they show a destroyed planet. Ryu then kicked the ground, causing an explosion as Lear and the other guy watched. He and the other characters discussed the magical aura of rebirth. Meanwhile, Ryu and the other characters cover their ears from the loud sound coming from the guy with the knife who suddenly appeared and caused panic in the room. Tiamat greets him, saying that it has been a long time since they met. He is surprised and asks who he is. And then the guy asked why she was in such a form, and she explained that she was advised to change her appearance so that in her real form there would not be too much noise. The boy noticed that the air outside was pleasant and did not expect a quick revival. The girl asked if this man was really a hero. At the same time, Ryu tries to stop Lyra, who suggests swiping away, and Tiamat explains that the girl has an aura similar to the previous heroes. The hero explains who they are and suggests returning to the castle. In addition, a group of characters react with surprise to the word Ajidahaka and discuss the concept of incarnation. Ryu claims that the dragon only fights with equals and no longer attacks humans. The others express doubts and ask if he poses a danger. Additionally, Lear claims that he is with his friends and promises not to harm, while the others discuss Tiamat's breakdown and warn that his actions should not surprise them for long. Ryu discusses the new weapon with Nara, who claims that even though it is difficult to use, it will increase his power. As a result, weapons made from the materials of higher monsters choose their owner themselves and refuse to obey if they do not recognize the owner. The character with the crown advises to go to the eastern country to learn the sword, and the interlocutor asks how to gain recognition for the weapon. After which Ryu suggested going to a dangerous eastern country while weapons were being made, and Lyre warned about its danger. He and the girl listen as the man explains that there are 2 demon lords there, and to get into the country, one must pass through a narrow passage between their territories. As the group discusses how the overlords usually do not interfere outside of their territory, but with Ryu and his companions, the situation could attract their attention and cause aggression. The guy refused, but the girl offered training. He then explains to Ryu that if he has the power to fight the demon lord, there will be no problem, and offers to teach him magic. The guy thanked her, the woman agreed and added that others should trust her too. Someone expressed a desire to join. Following this, the girl with the ears decides to train to protect her family, and Ryu agrees to join her. He argues that the more powerful allies, the better. Lyre is hesitant, and Tiamat bursts in to protest that she wants to participate too. Meanwhile, she explains that she is using him for her own gain and does not forgive what she did to her grandmother. And he warns her that it is dangerous, but agrees to wait and train. Tiamat joined the training, surprising everyone around her. And then the guy with the earring and the girl look at each other with tension. Lear screams, the guy with tattoos and chains attacks, pointing a gun at the girl. At the same time, Ryu realizes a familiar situation. Someone is merciless, and the guy with glasses is screaming in pain. A girl with long hair declares that she will take part in the training. The group reacts with surprise. Also, the guy asks why the girl decided so suddenly, and the other one notes that she hates monsters and her opponent will be Dahaka. Lear states that he wants to talk to Ryu and find out the meaning of his words. Ryu reacts with confusion. Additionally, Tiamat tries to remain silent when teased by claiming that she is in love with him, while he is surprised and confused. Ryu thinks that something happened between them, but the girl insists that she must look after Dahak and assures that everything will be fine. In the end, the guy reported that the equipment was ready for magic, and the girl suggested using the arena for training. The guy thanked her. Ryu fights at the arena and responds that there is more to come, challenging his opponent to show off his abilities. After which, Lyre remarks that Tiamat is probably worrying too much about her. Ryudik left the city without explanation. The girl expressed joy at the reconciliation, as someone had always been worried about him. When the boy asked the group how they felt about monsters, he waited for their answer. A girl dressed as a church minister says that the main thing is to avoid danger. A man doubts and talks about the need for sacrifices. The guy then explained that he destroys those who harm people, but does not hold a grudge against those who live on the sidelines, and added that he is neutral towards them. Ryu discusses a world without conflict between humans and monsters, claiming that the only way to control the monsters is through a demon lord. He then hesitantly agrees when he is called upon, and the teacher suggests starting with the basics of magic. He admits that he may not know how to use magic at all. The boy is surprised when Lear says he can use magic, reminding him that he used it in battle, but he doesn't remember it. Meanwhile, the character explains that magic is a form of magical energy, and tells how he enveloped the blade with this energy, feeling the element of wind in the blow. The guy says that magic consists of 4 elements, but he doesn't use them in everyday life and therefore doesn't know what it is. And then the character explains that in order to manifest magic, one must understand each element, and imagination is important, asking questions about the appearance of water and fire. Ryu explains that heat comes from friction, demonstrating with an example while Lear watches. At the same time, the guy admitted that he had not thought about the wind before, and the girl noticed that he already had a fixed idea in his memories. Ryu asks if he remembers using magic before their fight. He replies that he doesn't remember doing that. The guy also says that he fought a cockatrice that fired shockwaves from its wings, and he imitated it by firing magical energy from its weapons. The character with long hair and tattoos realized why the interlocutor's body remained intact when using magic.